the biggest selling album of 1998. Please welcome the Corrs.
How lucky we are to be doing what we're doing, to be working at something that we're talented at.
It really is a tremendous relief and a tremendous sense of fulfillment to have achieved as much as we have.
If you work hard enough, anything can happen. It is beyond our dreams.
We can play together, get on the stage, have the same dream, share in that. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. Feelings mutual. I swear it.
Hi, and welcome to a very special episode of Corrscast. An episode I've been thinking about recording for quite a while, and I now have the great honour of hosting a Corrs episode focused on their 2024 tour of Ireland and the UK. Welcome to another tour discussion special. I'm joined with, some friends, some people I haven't met yet, only digitally, and others that I've spent quite a few days travelling from city to city to recently. So I'm so excited to have everybody introduce themselves. And I have a list here that's completely arbitrary, but we're going to go with that list. And I'm going to start with maybe somebody in Brazil. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Ivo. Sometimes people call me Ivo, like Sharon. And I'm 39 years old.
Wonderful. And you're calling in from Brazil, right?
Yes, I am.
Lovely. Such an honour to have your country represented and your fan base represented.
Thank you.
Next, I would love to take it to Taliya.
Hi everyone, my name is Taliya. I'm from South Africa. I'm from a coastal town called Durban, which is in the same province, and this is for Borrowed Heaven fans. It's in the same province as Ladysmith, which is where Ladysmith Black Mambazo are from. It's great to meet you all. I'm so excited. Can't believe this is happening. I may be one of 2 or 3 fans from South Africa, but we're here.
And it's wonderful to have you here. What a cool little fact to add in as well. Oh, amazing. I'd like to also introduce listeners to Darren. Darren, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're calling in from.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Darren Mendonça. I am based in New Zealand. I'm originally from India, and I had the pleasure and the privilege of being a part of the Talking Corners experience, Glasgow and London in particular. And really happy to be part of this wonderful podcast.
Really great to have you on board. Thank you. Next, I'd love to throw it to you, Rosa. You're in Peru, correct?
Yes. Hi, I'm Rosa. I'm from Lima, Peru. I'm here in Lima. I've been a fan for a little bit over 25 years, and I'm just so happy to see you all again after a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks for various scheduling issues and sickness. We've finally got together. I'd ideally wanted it to be like the week after, so it's even more fresh in our minds. But 2 weeks, that's nothing really. In the grand scheme of things, it certainly doesn't feel like 2 weeks. On my list next, randomly, I have a certain, returning guest. Rachel, come say hi.
Hey, I'm Rachel. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. Great to be back here with you, Simon, to talk about the recent tour. I had so much fun, and it's just been the best time. So I'm so excited to share it with everyone today.
Amazing to have you back. Thank you for agreeing to be back on. And I can't wait as well. I'm really thrilled to talk about and relive in our memories everything that went on. Wendy, say hi.
Hello, I'm Wendy from Brisbane. I'm very excited to be on the Corrs podcast again. And I come from the home of Bluey, and where the Corrs will be performing in February 2025.
I'm not jealous at all about Bluey or the Corrs performing. No, not me. Next on my list, I have Francisco, who's sat in Mexico. Hey, Francisco, how you doing?
Pretty well. Well, my name is Francisco. My really close friends call me Franisco, which it's okay. I totally accept it. And I would say that I am a really Corrs fan. Basically, I have traveled all around the world because of the Corrs. I would say 70% of the travel that I have done, it's because of the Corrs. And my close family, my close friends, that some of them are over here at this podcast, definitely is because of their music. So yeah, that's basically me. And definitely the Corrs impact my life. So here we are.
And we are very glad to have you, Francisco. Very glad to have you. And you in turn have impacted our lives. But we'll discuss more about that, right? last but not least, we have another new guest on the show. Christine, I'm looking at you. Introduce yourself, please, and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm from California. I was born in the Philippines, but grew up here. And, I discovered the Corrs from, they were on the Letterman show. I think I was studying, and I actually wasn't looking up. I didn't know how beautiful they all were. So I can actually say I fell in love with their music because I was reading, I hear their music, and I look up, I was like, who are these people? And so now, just like Francisco, I've just been traveling the world. I mean, we went to all 9 shows this year, and Australia, New Zealand last year, and then again, Australia the year before. So I think I was telling Rachel, I'll have to sell an organ soon if I go to all the tours next year. But that's who I am.
Thank you, Christine, and welcome to the show. And it's honestly such a joy to have got to know you recently and to have your agreement to come on and be recorded. I know that's not always an easy thing for everybody, but I really appreciate it. And I think in turn, the fan community will when they hear your stories and your obvious passion for the band. Through my notes, I wanted to sort of guide our conversation somewhat. The first thing I have in notes is I'd love to know more about the ticket buying process for everyone. Yeah, I'd love to know, obviously with people in other countries, it can be a lot more difficult. Evo, tell us more about your ticket buying experience. How did that go for you?
Well, it was a big step because here from Brazil, the Ticketmaster site wasn't working properly. And I asked Sean from Germany, and he bought the tickets for me and for my friend. So it was hard.
Other fans coming to the rescue, and shout out to Germany in that regard. Yeah. Wonderful. And was it a case of, because correct me if I'm wrong, this build up and this ticket buying, you were buying your first ever ticket to see the full band perform live for the first time for you, right? What was that like?
Yeah, it was the first time. It was kind of excitement and anxiety because watching them from my TV, the DVDs I have, and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to see Caroline for the first time because I already saw Sharon in Brazil. She came in 2013 and we met her, but my love was always Caroline. So Sharon, sorry. And so it was very, very, I was full of anxiety,
Yeah.
to see them live for the first time.
Last time we did a tour special, it was so nice to have other fans on and discuss with fans that had been fans for a number of years that, again, had never seen the full band perform live before. And just having that experience recorded and shared with the rest of the community, it's just a great honor and a joy for me to be able to record it. It's lovely. And it's because there's obviously others that are less fortunate that are listening that haven't had the ability, whether it be some kind of neurodiversity or financial constraints or just where they live, haven't had that experience. And quite realistically, they're probably, with the cost of living and everything, there's fans that will maybe never hear the full band perform live. And some of those fans are going to be reliving that experience and taking that experience to heart from your stories. So yeah, be as full and as passionate and as detailed and as gushy as you want. This is your safe space to really let it all out. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's cool. I'd love to hear, Taliya, your experience of ticket buying. When did you first hear that this tour was going on sale?
When I had first started listening to the podcast, of course, I jumped into your DMs and was fangirling over your fanboying.
Yeah.
And I was just so taken aback that there's this whole community of people who love the band, because I'm sure the common thread throughout my commentary on today's podcast will be, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is all not in my head. And there are other people who love them as much and even more than me. So I had been following, obviously, the 2022 trips to Oz, and throughout 2023, they had been performing. And I even discussed this with you. I said, they're definitely going to announce a UK and Ireland tour in 2024. I just knew it was going to happen. So I remember the date. It was the 9th of February that I had cleared my diary. It was during the work day. Cleared my diary, locked my door, told everyone in my home to not even breathe near me because I've traveled a lot for concerts, for other concerts. But this was the ultimate. This was, I'm willing to go into debt. I'm ready to quit my job. I'm ready to, sell my dogs if I need to. Like,
Wow.
this was the ultimate thing for me. If they even hint at an announcement that, they're doing a tour, wherever it is in the world, I'm gonna go. And I couldn't make it in 2022 and 2023 just because of the reasons you've highlighted, Simon, cost of living, finances, all of that. And this is also my first time ever seeing the band. So on the 9th of February, locked myself in like something from a hacker movie. And Ticketmaster, I had to then sign on to the island site. And they chose the tickets for me. So I clicked once. It was kind of like a lottery, and I saw where they had put me. And my friends and I call them the Quidditch seats because they're so high up that you're like watching Quidditch from the Harry Potter movies. And I said, no, come on, the universe has gotta, work with me on this. I need some better tickets than this. I clicked again to get tickets, and I got tickets just away from the stage area, from the seated VIP area. The VIP
Beautiful.
tickets were all sold out by then.
Wow.
And I knew, as Christine said before this, I may have to sell an organ, but I was ready. Who needs two kidneys? It's so I clicked purchase, did the whole thing, and I got out of the room, went to my mom, and started to cry. I just couldn't control my emotions in that moment. It started to feel real that I'm actually going to see them. And I knew February to November, I had to just organize my life to make sure that this was going to happen and be the best experience possible for me. I can be a bit of a type A when it comes to keeping these things organized. But I'm sure, as you guys would all agree, you have to be organized and plan in order to have fun at these kind of things. So just making sure that I got the Dublin ticket was very important for me because I wanted to see them in their home country and also make a holiday out of going to Dublin and just doing kind of a pilgrimage, not barefoot, but a pilgrimage. Just to experience them in their home and make the most of it. So that was my ticket buying experience. Very nerve-wracking, very stressful, but worth it.
That's really succinct. Thank you for elaborating so much. I've got so many questions, but all those questions are going to come out during the course of this episode. I'm sure the people listening are going to be like, oh, I wonder why this, I wonder that. I'm going to follow up with one question. You expressed that you cried after knowing that you'd got tickets to your mum. Where was that crying coming from? Was that a place of relief, or was it a place of, like, in your imagination, I know what this is going to mean to me emotionally once I see them? I'd love to know more.
The tears were maybe 30% stress relief of finally being over this hurdle of, they announced that this was the date of the tickets and I had to be there and everything had to align. But this other 70% was after 25 years of being a fan and hearing that Unplugged album for the first time, putting my hands onto the CD leaflet and paging through those lyrics and, how we used to do it back in the day, for those who are not Gen Z kids here. Just knowing my journey with this band, it's been so long and so heartfelt. I mean, they are part of me, and I'm sure all of you understands this. Everyone close to you likes them because you love them. I'm sure your partners, your family, they associate the band with you, and that's been me my understanding of music comes from the Corrs. They've shaped a lot of my work ethic, my love for music, and the music that I branched out to listen to. So it was a combination of that, just knowing that this is a reality now. I have adult money and I can spend it on them and really invest in this experience for myself and for my mom, who's probably the only person who gets how deep my love for the band runs. And as we all know, I'm sure our DVD covers are all worn out with creases in the spine, and we've all just played all of those DVDs so many times. For me, that was a daily occurrence for 2 years of my life. I watched them every single day and took up the drums because of Caroline. It was just a culmination of that journey with the band, knowing that I'm going to be here when those first three notes of Only When I Sleep play. Like I'm going to hear it with my own ears, see it with my own eyes. I just couldn't believe it. It was an overwhelming emotion. Yeah, that's what it is. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I'm sure that you all understand.
No, you're perfectly succinct. Thank you for that. I loved the expression of we all have friends that love the Corrs or know of the Corrs because of our love for the band. It's almost like we're Corrs planets, and people enter our gravity, and that pull is infectious, isn't it?
That's a nice way of saying it. I generally say I'm the gateway drug.
Yeah, or that, or we're just some druggies, or we're just Corrs druggies. Yeah, one of the two. However you feel. Thank you. Darren, tell us more about the purchasing of tickets. Obviously, the gigs were announced. Can you lead us through what that experience was like for you, Darren?
Yeah, so when the gigs were first announced, I sort of started to look around for tickets. And I know that the ones in Ireland in particular started to go pretty quickly. I wasn't actually sure to begin with whether I was going to make it to the Talking Corners tour after all. Traveling a long way all across the world. But then sort of as time went on, I started to make a bit of a plan with my school friends and sort of make it a bigger experience. I wasn't actually sure that I would make all of the gigs, but I sourced a ticket from another fellow fan in Glasgow, and I thought I'd sort of see them in another country, as it were. And then towards the end, as the London gig got announced, I tried to get in as quickly as possible. But yeah, that was sort of a build up of that experience. And then I considered going to some of the other gigs as well, but then I thought I'd try and get as best tickets as possible for the gigs that I was going to, and so yeah, so that was sort of my experience.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I'd love to move on to Rosa. Tell me what your experience was like of trying to book tickets in Peru and going through that whole process. Tell me from day one, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was horrible. Well, we all know, I think Ticketmaster doesn't have like the best system in the world. Like the site crashes when you are like right there to buy your ticket. So the first thing is that I had to wake up like before 4 a.m. to be able to be able to get to the first tickets, right? But everything was ready. I was able to get, I think, good tickets in general. But for Dublin, it was terrible because you had like pre-sales for credit cards or phone numbers or I don't know. So I think I barely got a ticket for Dublin. I was not able to get a ticket for Belfast. And yeah, for me, it was like, there was no question whether or not I was going to the tour. The question was how many concerts I was going to be able to make, right? So in the beginning, for me, it was just from Dublin to Newcastle. That was it. Because I just like Taliya, I also wanted to go to Ireland and visit the place where they were born, they grew up. And like, okay, so 1 week to visit Ireland, 1 week for the tour, that's it. But then everything just went crazy. Yeah, when they added London, I put in Sheffield as well. So, but yeah, it was, and Ticketmaster has like this thing where they don't allow you to buy one ticket and leave and a single seat on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to go back and back and back until you find 3 seats. So you got buy one and leave two. So yeah, that was really stressing. But I mean, I made it in the end, so it was okay.
Very glad you did. Have you seen the whole band perform live prior to this?
Yeah, I had seen them at the Royal Albert Hall in 2017. So, but I was still waiting for the 2018 tour. That they said,
Yeah,
okay,
weren't we
eventually
all? Yeah.
2018, right? Yeah. And I mean, going to Australia in 2022, 2023 was like really, really difficult for me. So when they said, okay, we're touring the UK, we're touring Ireland, it's like, "Oh, I'm there. I'm there. I don't care what's gonna happen in 9 months. I'm gonna get there." And yeah.
Cool. And we're very glad you did get there and you really successfully got there. So, but we'll talk more about that as we delve into the tour dates themselves. Rachel, tell us more about your purchasing experience because you ended up going to all 9, correct?
I did. I did manage to get to the whole tour, which was pretty special for me. When I started thinking about this tour, I thought, I can't do this one. I thought I'll sit this one out and watch everyone else go. But very thankfully, my good friend Francisco was able to get a few tickets for me and said, just in case there's a 0.0000001% chance that you'll come, I got some tickets. So as soon as he said this, I said, I have to go. Thank you. And yeah, so basically once I'd made the decision to go, it was just, yeah, I'm all in. And if I'm going to travel all the way from Australia, I'm going to go to everything. So that was,
wow.
Yeah, I was very lucky to be able to do that. But it was just amazing. So I'm very thankful to have that opportunity. Just everything fell into place really well for me at that time. So it worked well.
Yeah, because obviously you have responsibilities at home with your wonderful daughters as well, and you know your commitment to your incredible husband. So yeah, that's not an easy thing to go on a whim. But like Francisco said, if there's a 0.01% chance that you might be able to, at least you've got the tickets. Ivo, Rosa, Taliya, can you imagine having tickets purchased for you and all you had to think about was like the logistics of your family and getting there and getting back? Wow.
I don't know if it's privilege or just pure love. It's pure friendship love. That's amazing. Francisco is the ultimate gentleman from my personal experience, and I'm not surprised that he would grant Rachel that lovely privilege. And so deserved because you guys were in every video, every photo that the band took. So it worked. It was worth it.
Well, Simon, I have to tell Taliya that Rachel got her opportunity to revenge. So basically, she said to me, "Hey, I got some tickets for you for February, next February, just in the case of 0.00001% chances that you come to Australia again for the third time." So I already started my visa topics and all the different stuff. So I'm gonna be there because of that 0.00001 percentage of probability for me being there. So thank you so much, Rachel.
Fan love. We love to hear about it. We love to hear it. Wendy, tell us of your experience.
Well, because I had the wonderful opportunity to see the Corrs the last 2 times in Australia, when they announced the UK Island tour, I was not even thinking of going because Australia is a very long way away from England. And, I had absolutely no plans to travel overseas this year. And I thought, I've had this amazing experience of meeting the Corrs twice in Australia now, in Sydney in 2022 at the meet and greet. And then thanks to Rachel's magic backstage in Melbourne in 2023. And yeah, so it didn't even cross my mind to go overseas. And then these lovely friends of mine are very convincing. And we just like slowly hint over months and months and months. And then I have been to Ireland and the UK before, but it was 14 years ago. And I've not left until recently. I'd not left Australia for 10 years. And, I always thought I would love to go back at some point. And then there was just that one moment where I thought, hang on, maybe I could do this. Like maybe I should just consider this crazy idea. And sort of looked at the dates with work, and I'm like, I might be able to squeeze out 2 weeks. Like it's between two major events that my work puts on, but there's like maybe a couple of weeks I could make it work. And yeah, I was very, very non-committal for a long time, and to the point where sometimes I was like avoiding my WhatsApp because in case anyone had like in the group had sort of mentioned, "Hey Wendy, there's a seat in our car if you want to join." Yeah, and then eventually, yeah, I actually booked the flights and everything first before I booked the course ticket. So I'd like to thank Rachel for her patience with me on that, and really because I was quite overwhelmed about it all. Yeah, so I'd like to thank Rachel for her like very generous help in helping me with just finding flights and that kind of thing. And then Simon actually booked my London tickets for me, and then when I showed up in Newcastle, I thought I was just gonna chill out that night in the hotel while you all went to the concert, and then Simon was like, "Oh no, you're going to the concert tonight. We got you some great resale tickets." And then I actually got like the Glasgow and the Sheffield tickets like on the day, just resale tickets. Yeah, just using the app. Again, thanks to the patience of Simon and Rachel and Francisco and Christine with all the tech involved in that, because I've not actually bought like tickets through Ticketmaster before, I don't think so. Yeah, it was all a bit new to me, but I made it and it was amazing.
We're so glad you did make it, and it certainly was amazing, and I can't wait to touch more on the mad ins and outs of, oh, am I going to a gig, am I not going to a gig? And yeah, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Francisco, tell us more about, obviously we've heard that you've been buying tickets for other people. How did your ticking from announcement to ticket buying experience go?
I would say, Simon, that the first thing is that since the very, very first beginning, I had the decision to go to all of them. But that time, there were only 8 concerts coming. Indeed, we're wrong. And Christine and Rachel, we can tell you about it, because we also went to the concerts on the summertime. So it was concerts on Westonbirt, it was the concert on Hyde Park with Sharon Corr, and it was also the concert at Marbella. Basically, we have been not in 9, we have been this year in 12 concerts, which is Christine and me is just, I mean, that girl is the one that I have traveled the most in my life, okay? To in most countries. So it's a really important girl for me at this moment. So what I did, since I had the decision to get all the tickets, basically I take all the pre-activities that I have to do. In Mexico, for me to get the tickets is wake up at 2 a.m., prepare some coffee. I had 2 computers, different sessions, different Ticketmaster's account. I did all the previous activities that you can done, like creating accounts or just type your name and your email in some list that you have for Ticketmaster for pre-sales. Also, you helped me a lot, Simon. There are some tickets that you can only go on pre-sales if you have an O2 account. So thank you so much for that. Definitely, I would say that probably 40 to 50% of the tickets, you really helped me to get them. And I was so lucky because I got front row tickets in the 9 shows. So that was something totally hilarious. It was something really great. And there's this wonderful guy that we are going to talk about him, who is John O'Donnell. He is from Dublin. He runs actions with the artist stuff and different kind of things. He's an artist, and he didn't have tickets and he didn't have pre-sales at all. So I said, "Hey, John, here you have my other account. You can use it." So he used my account to get the tickets. He got some really good tickets. And well, that's basically the way that happens. And of course, I got some extra tickets, and I told Rachel, there's your ticket. I mean, it's gonna be an empty seat if you don't use it, so it won't be a good idea to waste that opportunity. So just for you to think about it, and well, you see the result. She was thinking about going to 1 or 2 because she went to Marbella, so she ended up going to the all 9 shows, which is something definitely magical.
Mad brilliance, definitely. Christine, tell us more about you first hearing about the tour being announced and then to finally getting some tickets in your hands. How was that experience for you, please?
Well, that was pretty crazy because when they had announced it, we had just finished the Australia and New Zealand shows. So I'm like, what? I'm just I haven't had time to even recover, right? In any sense of the word.
Mm.
And I'm like, I need to go. I'm gonna regret it. There's this side story that Francisco likes beating me up with, is that Royal Albert Hall.
Wonderful gig. Wonderful gig.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah. So I see this show posted and I'm like, I've never seen the Corrs. I've liked them for 20 years. I should go, but I'm in California and I'm like, okay, you know what? They're back. They're back together. They're going to tour. I don't end up going, right? And so when I probably went, finally went to, like, you know, Hope Estate and everything else. And so this, I was like, no more regrets. I'm gonna go. And so with the ticket buying, this happens. Francisco and I are texting. Rachel and I are texting. I'm at work outside at night in my car. I look like a criminal. I'm like trying to buy tickets while communicating with Francisco. Like, he's like, I got you this ticket. I have a guy, which is Simon. Yes. Do you want these tickets? So it was pretty crazy. And my Amex card is just like, I'm like, but it was worth it. I mean, out of the 9 shows, I got to be front row, not like Francisco. Out of 9, I got 5 of them in the front. One of them, when you shouted to Sharon, she loves you.
You do love Sharon.
That's pretty funny.
Just for listeners, yeah, the context was Christine would kept shouting at Sharon, understandably, I love you, Sharon. And it was, you know, the gig was noisy and stuff. And then there was a break between songs. And so I shouted, she loves you, Sharon, to which Sharon then replied to, which was fun.
Oh, she definitely heard that because we were right up front. But yeah, kind of like Rachel and Francisco were saying about buying each other's tickets. I mean, that happened last year. They're like, Christine, you're already here in Australia. We have an extra ticket in Tasmania. And I was supposed to go see the Great Barrier Reef. I canceled that whole trip.
Wow.
I canceled that whole leg, canceled that flight, rebooked, went to Tasmania, and it, you know, and I mean, there's a lot of other stories that because of that just snowballed into other kind of blessings for the Corrs. But yeah, it was crazy, but definitely worth it.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love how it's all interconnected, and it was lovely to finally meet you in person at so many shows. Yeah, the buying experience for me was, I guess, a little different, just in as much as I've been researching and recording for the podcast for it's coming on 5 years now. And I hadn't seen the full band perform live since the Royal Albert Hall gig in 2017, which was, a beautiful gig, beautiful venue as a one-off thing. So many fans from all around the world to be able to see everyone. And it was just a beautiful experience to hear some of those songs live since the White Light tour, really. And I hadn't obviously seen the whole band perform a full set. The next time I'd see them would be again at Hyde Park, and Francisco was there as well. That was lovely, but it was only just over an hour long, and it wasn't a full set. It sounded incredible, and obviously I kind of like whetted my appetite. I hadn't gone to any of the Australian shows, but I'd heard all about them from those previous special episodes that listeners have heard about with my friends here. So I was like, right, this is being announced. What dates am I available for this? I wasn't available because of prior childcare agreements to not go to the island shows, but I knew I was available for all of the other shows. This is prior to London being announced. But so I was like, right, booked some time off work, booked the morning off work. I was already O2 priority registered, so I could go through the app to get, I think it's 24 hours before release. And I sat there, credit card on file with with all the relevant apps, and just sat there going, buy. And it was just, my watch alerted me and said, your heart rate's increased to over 100 beats per minute and you're not active. Are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. And neither is my credit card. But I was able to successfully purchase front row tickets for 7 of the 9 gigs. So all the ones that I intended to go to. as well as, a few extra tickets along the way where the app permitted me at the same time. So, Francisco and a few others were able to benefit from my pre-sale code, which is incredible. And just to have the experience of my inbox having that many emails saying that I was going to finally see the full band. Just relief. I came out of the room. I actually did the buying at work in a special room at work, separate room. I came out and there's some people colleagues I work with that know I like the Corrs, and they were like, are you, did it go okay? And I went, I got front row every gig that I intended to go to. So 7 out of 9, and they were like so happy, and there was hugs, and it was a really cool moment. Another one of those moments where we are the Corrs planet, and those orbiting in our gravity are definitely pulled in and see the passion and the joy that the band and their music bring us. So very, very cool buying experience for me, and I got incredibly lucky in the ticket allocation, especially after so long seeing the full band live, and then obviously all the work on the podcast. It was it felt emotional to finally realize I would be able to hear all of these songs that I'd been interviewing about and hearing in new ways up in person right in front of me, and to be front row as well. I knew that was going to be a really emotional and personal experience that I would treasure. So really cool, really cool.
Hi, I'm Shang from Germany. I had so much fun seeing the Corrs live again after so many years. Being a fan for over 25 years now, and the love to them has never changed. And sharing these wonderful feelings with fans from all around the world was the topping. It was so great to meet all these people. I hope there will be more music and tours to come. And thank you to Corrscast for all the work running this podcast. Giving us all the background stories about them and their work is so amazing. Can't wait to hear the next episode.
So the band, they obviously announced this tour. They announce a 2024 tour of Ireland and the UK, and they call it the Talk on Corners tour. This is interesting. I'm still finishing off the Forgiven Not Forgotten season. I'm just about to start. I'd already started interviewing for the Talk on Corners season for the podcast, so it was certainly on my horizon. And then suddenly have the band announce a Talk on Corners focused tour. I know that the fan world was buzzing with options of what are they going to do? How is this going to be? Is this going to be the same set, the set list? I'd love to go around each of you and just ask what your feelings were and what your expectations were when you heard Talk on Corners being the tour. Evo, tell us more. How did that feel for you?
Well, when I first heard that was Talk on Corners tour, I first thing on my mind was, oh my God, they're going to perform No Good for Me. No Good for Me and
Amen.
Hopelessly Addicted, you know. the set list is already with a bunch of Token Corner songs. But I thought they are going to cut something and put something, So I was expecting No Good For Me and Hopelessly Addicted. Also Paddy McCarthy, because Paddy McCarthy from Live in London, it was so special for me. The gift of introduction, the bass, it's amazing. So I was expecting something like that. And when the show actually started, when I was there, and it started with Baby Be Brave introduction, I was, this is something different, even if it's Borrowed Heaven introduction. But I thought, they're going to change things, And they started with Only When I Sleep, and I was, okay, yeah, that's how they used to start it. And the set list was coming and coming. And the first song that they changed it wasn't from Token Corners at all. It was Closer, and I wasn't expecting that, and I screamed so loud. Everybody was mute, like it wasn't Corrs fans beside me, only me. And I was, oh my God, they're not screaming, they're not doing anything, and they started laughing at me because I was screaming, But I was expecting too much Token Corners songs, but it was amazing. It was amazing.
And just to confirm, you went to Dublin and Belfast?
Belfast, yes. Belfast and Dublin. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, because when I first saw the press release, it was like, we're going to be playing, Token Corners and our hit songs are going to be in the mix. So I was really curious as to how this set list was going to go down and what songs they would pick. Like, there's so many hits already, and Talking Corners as an album still fairly long, and there's so many songs that are so well known.
Like Don't Say You Love Me. I love Don't Say You Love Me. And I wasn't expecting that they are going to play this tour, even if they played in Asia. And that song was the song that I realized I was at the Corrs concert, and I started crying at the end when Andrea sings. How is the chorus?
Make It Real or Take It All Away.
Yeah, or Take It All Away, and I was crying. It was. I realized when I was at the concert. Yeah, it was amazing.
Taliya, what were your expectations of the set list and it being a Talk on Corners focused tour? What did that bring to your mind?
Well, Simon, to hark back to a comment that Wendy had made actually in one of the previous podcast episodes, not that I'm stalking anyone, I'm just very in tune with what Corrs fans think. She mentioned that, it's not offensive, but kind of not what Corrs fans like to hear by saying they're part of the nostalgic wave of 90s musicians that are coming back. For us, as we say amongst my friends, it's daily breads. We listen to them every day. So when I heard Talk on Corners, I know this band very well in that they are practical and they know their fans. I obviously know Talk on Corners, their biggest album, most successful, probably an album outside of the US that most people associate them with. And I realized that in my mind, I assumed that they had gone to Jakarta and Oz and New Zealand and realized songs like Don't Say You Love Me and the songs from Talk on Corners, the response that they got from the audience may have said to them, well, let's have a resurgence with this album. Let's just remind our fans that we love it as much as they love it. So that was where my thinking was. I'm obviously speculating on what their vision was for the tour. But as soon as the announcement came, I watched an interview that Sharon did just to coincide with the announcement. And she said, we're not we're obviously going to be playing the hits, you know. We'll never do a show without Runaway, without Forgiven Not Forgotten, without Breathless. So I had a good idea that as much as this tour is called the Talk on Corners tour, they're going to be performing the songs that we know and love. And I think knowing the band's history, a song like Radio, where do you put that song? Do you put it in the Talk on Corners era, or do you put it in the In Blue era? Because that's the iteration of the song that the rest of the world knows. But Corrs fans know that songs lived a very long life and could have easily been on Talk on Corners. So I think for those of us here who it's been a continuous loop with the band, the eras do bleed into each other, regardless of how many years are in between them. And if you look at all the other shows, when it was the In Blue tour, when it was the Talk on Corners tour, when it was the Borrowed Heaven tour, they performed those songs that they know the fans love and that they love too. So I wasn't too stressed. I'm with Evo on my campaign for No Good For Me. I need that song to be performed live in some way, even if they just send me a video, you know, in their homes performing it. I'm ready for that. And Patty McCarthy, like the In Blue tour version was so good. And it's almost like you start to question yourself, did that really happen? Was that performance real? Because it just happened and it was a flash and now we've never heard it again. So I'm with Evo on both of those. I would have loved to have heard those, but the set list was perfect.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's really insightful. And I think I'm with you too as well. I want Paddy McCarthy live, and I want No Good For Me. I love No Good For Me so much. And Paddy McCarthy's that great break in that album that's just lovely. It's a breath of fresh air to hear something completely different from the band for the first time. Darren, what were your thoughts regarding Talk on Corners? Is it much the same as those that have previously spoken, or did you have other thoughts that came to mind when thinking of, oh, we're touring this second album?
Yeah, so Talk on Corners was actually my discovery album. That was the album, as for many, Forgiven Not Forgotten, had heard about them, but Talk on Corners was my really falling in love with the Corrs album. And the song my top song for last year and this year was When He's Not Around. And it's very odd because I don't actually feel like I listen to it as much, but obviously I'm very drawn to it. And so I thought that they would actually do When He's Not Around. But obviously they've got such a massive repertoire, it's really hard to cover everything. What I love about that track in particular is sort of how I feel like it's a real build up to the rest of the album. It may not have been the first track, but it really defines what Talk on Corners is for me. And even though they didn't really play it, I felt like I had elements of that song sort of replayed back through the gigs. So that was a sort of a funny experience where I don't actually realize I listen to a track that much, but yet it's sort of I am actually doing that, and yet I feel like I've listened to part of it. So maybe it's part of the sort of essence of the album sort of coming out through the other tracks. Also, quite an interesting experience. I felt that some of the tracks sounded a little bit different in Glasgow to the O2 gigs. Obviously, with Sharon not being in at the Glasgow gig, hearing Jim in particular, sort of his voice sort of come out a lot more. That was such a unique sort of experience. Also noticed Andrea sort of really building up the tin whistle in very many of the other tracks, and sort of it was a very sort of unique experience versus the others. But it was sort of part of the Talk on Corners experience for me was sort of it was coming full circle back to the album that I first discovered the Corrs through. Yeah.
Would you mind sharing with us, you touched on it briefly, why When He's Not Around is such an important track for you?
Yeah, I don't actually quite know. It's sort of mysterious to me, but I feel like in my mind it was sort of the first non-single track that I listened to. I'd listened to some, a couple of the others, and so it was my first sort of experience of a new song by the Corrs. I think that's probably why it sort of come back to it. And I think I really like the sort of ending. It's not necessarily prominent or different, but it sort of goes back to the, I don't know, it feels like it's almost like the start of the Corrscast sort of music. It feels like that, but it really is the essence of the album, yeah, for me.
Yeah, it's almost like a kickoff again, isn't it? The outro. It's nice. It's very nice.
One of my favorite lyrics in there is "Can I keep him in my galaxy?" I was so tempted to kind of go, "Can I keep you in my galaxy?" on a little sign, but I sort of missed out on the signs. I just wanted to like be part of that experience. But yeah, I also like the spoken word part where it's like, "Can I keep him in my galaxy?" That sort of part, yeah.
It's a very sort of visual song. I don't know, it's yeah, I really love the lyrics of that song too.
I think in another world, it would have been a single. I think it might have been talked about in previous sort of episodes, but I can almost see that being a single and being really successful. But just in my mind, just on my list.
Whenever I think about it played live, I always picture Jim on the keys at the Royal Albert Hall at the end. That every time in my head, and it's just the joy where he's looking over to his siblings and they're doing this, they're doing the gig. That joy comes really, really across when it's live. So yeah, it's next time make that sign. We want to hear that song.
I think I don't know if it's the production of the song and the whole album, but I think Talk on Corners has a magical, mystic vibe. You know, when he's not around, when the little instrumental in the end comes, it is so magical. It is so mystical. I don't know. It feels like I'm in a forest. I really know that the lyrics, it's nothing about it, but the production of the song, I don't know what it is. Maybe I was a witch in the past in the forest listening the melody, but I don't know. It's very mystical to me.
Yeah, I totally feel that too. Just yeah, it's something about the arrangement or the instrumentation. I remember from listening to it in the 90s that it definitely has, fairy tale like quality to it. And just that line, "I feel him lounging and lovely in his big blue eyes." It's just so sweet.
Yeah, it's almost bubblegum kind of pop in elements, but then crossed with, like you say, that kind of mystic rock and pop. It's a real psychedelic mix. Original production and recording for the demos was by the producer Leo Pearson, who obviously did certain other tracks as well, which you'll hear more about on the next episode. And yeah, his background and the types of music he was producing lent to the sound and the final production sound we got, and that blend and of that mystique that came across. Leo's an incredible producer, and what he was able to do and what he was able to bring out of the band and how he was able to flavor their sound in recording those demos was truly tremendous. And yeah, it was amazing to talk to him. Rosa, what were your thoughts when first hearing about a Talk on Corners focused tour? Are you agreeing with most of us, or did any other insightful thoughts come to your mind? What were you expecting?
No, yeah, I can agree with what they have mentioned. I didn't expect it to be an only Talk on Corners focused tour. I sort of expected them to repeat what they had done in the Philippines the year before. I did want them to sing Love to Love You, for example. I love that song. And I was kind of hoping also that they would include some songs from Jupiter Calling, which they haven't sung since the Royal Albert Hall, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe they didn't sing them in Asia or in Australia because, I don't know, maybe they didn't release the album there. I have no idea. But because the album had been released in the UK, in Ireland, maybe they would include some songs from that album because it's beautiful, right? But no, in the end, I mean, the set list was perfect. And even if I had heard it like, okay, 5 times before, every song came like a surprise because they always perform it in a different way. And the way they interact with the audience, everything changes. So it was just in the end, it's perfect, even if they don't include or they didn't include like the songs that you expected to hear. Like, yeah.
Rachel, Talk on Corners. What did that sum up for you?
Well, look, Simon, I've loved this album forever since it was first released. So for me, I was so excited that it was going to be a Talk on Corners tour. I knew that they would, of course, play all the hits as well, but I was hoping for No Good for Me because it's one of my all-time favorite songs ever, ever, ever. So that would have been good. Yeah, that would have been the best for me, but I was still very happy.
So it ticked all the boxes for you. You were like, yeah, no, this is enough.
Yeah, I was going to be happy with whatever they chose to play, so that was cool. But I guess No Good for Me has always just been one of my top songs, so that would have been the icing on the cake.
Next time, hey, next time.
Yeah, I'm hoping for Australia. They might change it up for Australia.
Now you're making me jealous. Wendy, what do you think? What do you think? What was Talk on Corners summing up for you musically? Obviously, you weren't sure you were even going to see them initially, and then you ended up going to a number of gigs, which we'll get into a bit later. But what were your expectations? Obviously, we've had other people say, oh, you know, there's great business sense to definitely play the hits. But yeah, were you just expecting similar to what you'd experienced as we've discussed in the previous specials?
I think when I heard it was a Talk on Corners tour, again, I thought it would be basically the whole Talk on Corners album with a few other hits. I hadn't actually thought too much about it because, again, so much of my focus was like things like booking plane tickets. How am I going to, all the logistics of that stuff. So I didn't even really think about the set list. And again, a lot of this tour for me, because I had seen them in the last couple of years in Australia, a lot of this tour for me was seeing all of you guys and having that shared experience.
Yeah.
I've had that experience of a few years ago seeing them live for the first time and crying under the stars basically. So yeah, this was more of an adventure, more of a fun time for me. So I didn't really analyze it too much. Just to talk about the Talk on Corners album. So Forgiven Not Forgotten was always sort of hanging around in my life. I first heard Runaway in a school classroom in Australia in 1996. And Talk on Corners, my brother actually had the album that his friend had given him, I think, for a birthday present. And my brother liked it, but I ended up getting the album and really getting into it. So that was a very pivotal album of my late teens. And it was also around the time of watching TV shows like Charmed, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. There was a lot of like mystical kind of themes on television. And then this album, has a lot of mystical kind of themes as well. And I spent a lot of time going to kind of hippie shops in my teens with, shops that would sell incense and crystals. And so that's all wrapped up in that world. The thought of having a whole concert of the entire album, I'm not sure if it was a massive selling point for me. Like I knew I would have enjoyed it either way, but I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then when I saw the actual set list come through, I was like, oh, okay, I like the set list a lot better because it did have other songs I'd love to see, like Lagan Love live. But like you guys, I love No Good for Me and When He's Not Around and Paddy McCarthy. So they would have been wonderful to see live. But maybe in Australia if the Corrs listen to this episode.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. Francisco, what were your thoughts on a Talk on Corners tour?
Well, I would say that, and previously I answered that, Simon. There is a phrase that came to us in Australia that Rachel and me have. That we used to say the universe will provide. So basically, is that it's really important. At least this is the way that I like it, not to create a lot of expectations, but because then you are just hoping that to happen and you're not enjoying the moment. So definitely, I was happy with what happened. And definitely, and I wrote some posts and I did some requests about the great songs on Jupiter Calling, the great songs on White Light album. Indeed, I remember me walking a little drunk with Christine singing Bulletproof of Love in Belfast, Dublin, in Cardiff, I guess. So yeah, there's some videos of that. SOS, which is really, really important for us in these moments. And Andrea telling everybody, hey, there are bad things happening in the world, but here we are. There's a lot of love in this room. So I would say that one thing that I really would love to happen is to have a video of any of those concerts, like the DVDs that I watch every day. I definitely would love that to happen. They are not doing that anymore. They have a really good quality on the work that the camera guys are doing, but it's not being recorded for sale. So I would love to have that. I mean, to just to have that moment in high quality and in professional way recorded, it would be really, really, really great. Songs that I definitely would love to hear. Jerry's Real, with me stay, Chasing Shadows, which is one of Wendy's favorites. SOS, definitely. I know there are a lot of songs. I mean, because of the course this year, I went to watch this wonderful girl, Taylor Swift. I'm not a Swiftie, I'm not a big fan, but it was exactly in the middle between Hyde Park and Marbella. And she had a 3 hours and a half concert. So I would love to have that with the course, like 4 hours, no problem at all. And for those Swifties that somehow they are listening off, or if you have any Swiftie in your family, you can tell that Taylor Swift on 2020, she declares that the Corrs are her female professors to the Guardian. So that's really important. Breathless, it's on Taylor Swift, #1 song that have influenced her music. So yeah, definitely, I would love to have a 2 hours concert, 3 hours concert for sure.
Cool. There's a lot to unpack there, especially for Swiftie fans. But I'd love a concert that long. I really would. We could have a Corrs era, going by thematic album eras. Oh, don't let me daydream. Don't let me daydream that.
Just before I forget, I just want to say when Taliya mentioned that she remembered the bit I said on a previous podcast about the Corrs aren't nostalgia for us, it's still ongoing. Anyway, for her to have heard that and thought about it and remembered it, that made me cry a little.
Oh.
Anyway, just wanted to say that.
Respect, Wendy.
That's really good. That's why I thought it was really pivotal what was said, and that's why I called that special. That I have the subtitle for every episode. That's why I called it that. Christine, Talk on Corners. A tour is happening. Tickets are happening. You're traveling. You can't miss out. You can't regret not going to this.
Well, first, when I heard of Talking Corners, I did think that, or maybe hoping that they would play the whole album, and then, of course, the hits here and there. And so, but just like everyone else, once you're there, there's no sense of disappointment. You're just hyped up, Originally, as Rachel and Francisco know, and you knew that I was really only going to 5 out of the, at the time, 8 concerts, because I was traveling. I'm coming from so far away. I wanted to see places. But I remember just them saying, we're doing this road trip with Simon. We didn't know each other.
No.
Yeah, we didn't know each other. And just right then and there, I was like, I cannot miss out on that. I would regret it. And let me tell you, Simon, meeting you, I knew Wendy and I knew Rachel and Francisco. I didn't know you, but being in that car with you guys is just so magical, just thinking about it. And the way I miss you guys, I miss you guys even more, as like I'm hearing, I have all these like CDs from you and Princess that's all in my car. I have a dozen CDs, and right now it's in blue, just like over and over and over and over. And so, yeah, I was expecting something different, but the experience that was different was being with you guys, like every night. Like I didn't know where I was going to sit, because I knew I could be moved around with people having many, many tickets, and just like looking forward to seeing, like, I was like, oh, there's Roro, like, hey, like different people that we're meeting, and like Darren talking about, oh, I heard your harmonies. I was like, it was just like, we just know this music so well. But I think just the experience of Talking Corners was so different because the community was so much bigger, and we know all kinds of background stuff that kind of like Ella was talking about. Like, we probably know more stuff than the Corrs know about themselves just because we've relived it and over things that they've forgotten, maybe. But just that experience of Talking Corners, it was more than I expected. And for us five to get along so well in that car, I mean, it was hilarious, nonstop hilarity. I mean, it was so fun, just the inside jokes. And I'm so grateful just how I think people are like, you must be the Corrs #1 fan. I'm like, you guys have no idea. I know these people in this. Well, I feel like, oh, I need to up my game because I don't know this background yet, or that. But it's just, I just love our community. I really do. That was my experience with Talking Corners tour.
Wow, that's a great summary. And just for context for listeners, I took on the unenviable task, but a joyful one, of deciding to, after the rest of our group had listened and watched the Irish shows, to drive everybody to each show in our collective group. Because obviously I was going to all of them and had tickets to all of them. I was going anyway, and I had a car. So yeah, the unenviable task, I ended up driving over 1,500 miles or over 2,500 kilometers in not that many days, going from gig to gig in a single car with some people that I'd never physically met in person before, other than Francisco. Yeah, there was definitely some apprehension. How is this going to work? Are we going to get on? If we are going to get on, are we going to get on well enough, even in this stressful, lots of lack of sleep situation, where our emotions are at their extremes because we're seeing music that we've loved for decades? But it worked out. But we'll go into more detail later. But I just wanted to reiterate, most of what you've said is probably what I thought with regards to first hearing the Talk on Corners tour. But I must admit that I am firmly in the camp with both feet, that what I wanted was the album played from beginning to end. I wanted every song as though I'd pressed play on my CD player or MP3 player in the late 90s and was walking to work, or was in the car, or I wanted to relive that, but live. That's ideally what I wanted for the band. And I know that doesn't make a great deal of sense financially when they've got giant hits, but maybe do that, then the hits afterwards. I'm not sure, but that's what I wanted. And like many of you said, once I'd got there and the buzz of the gig was there, and even seeing them perform live at all, I was like, oh, that was all forgotten. I was like, no, standout for me was definitely knowing from Evo posting up the set list and stuff, and knowing what the set list would be prior to those gigs I began at, and seeing Closer on the set list meant a tremendous amount to me. It was just like, that's one of my all-time favorite songs by the band, and to be able to have the expectancy that, yes, I'm not getting the full Talk on Corners experience, and No Good For Me is not going to be on there, fine, Hopelessly Addicted, there's elements missing that we'd all love, but to know that Closer was on there, I was like, wow, how are they going to perform it? I can't wait to see how they're going to strip this song down and bring it again to this audience that obviously know it from all these years. So yeah, amazing. Francisco.
Yes, well, considering what you're saying, this is the first episode where you are making this interview, but you are also part of it. So we have to make the same questions for you. So what was about the expectation that you had for Talking Corners?
I kind of just answered that, but it's weird because by the time the gigs were announced, I was probably already 9 interviews pre-recorded into season 2 of the podcast. So I was conscious. It was double-edged. It was like I was selfishly wanted to hear the whole album live in front of me from start to end. But I felt a responsibility to get season 1 finished so that fans and listeners could hear something of what I'd already produced and knew about Talk on Corners that was new, that was insightful, that was enriching the listening experience for me for that album personally. So it was really double-edged for me. It was like, oh no, I need to hit the ground and get season 1 finished appropriately, but I also need to set some expectations of wanting to get at least some episodes for season 2 to underline the listening experience for those that I knew from around the world that were listening to the podcast, but were also going to these gigs. Yeah, there was an element of brilliant. I already know about this album and I'm loving this album in a depth that I've never known before. I'm really glad they're honoring this because they haven't done that for the other albums. This is the first looking back honoring that this band's really done other than maybe the Royal Albert Hall gig when they're like, oh, we're returning to the Royal Albert Hall. Yeah, it's a pivotal gig. That's how that was branded. That was a looking back. Since then, there hasn't been anything. This is their first proper look back at their historical rise. So I was really glad that they were honoring that part in their trajectory, and how the world knew them for the first time, or most of the world knew them for the first time, as many have mentioned already. So yeah, it was mixed for me. It was mixed for me, but to be able to, like I said previously, Hyde Park was lovely, but it was only just over an hour long. I was just glad to be able to, after 5 years of working on the podcast, being able to actually book a ticket to see the band perform a full live concert gig. Just ecstatic. Could not wait. Had to be as many gigs as possible to honor the album that I was researching and to clap as hard as possible for the band that I love.
Simon, I just have a comment to add to build on what you just said. For me personally, I had started listening to the podcast probably 2022, since they announced the Oz and the 2022 and 2023 concerts that they had done. And when the tour got announced, I had put off listening to all of you discussing the concerts because I just thought this is gut-wrenching, It's so within my reach and I just couldn't make it. And obviously you also didn't go to the shows. But just to hear the fans' feedback, I didn't want to go through it because I thought I didn't see it and I have adult money. I could have, but I didn't. But when the tour got announced, I actually used your podcast to build up my own hype and get immersed into, study for the exam, so to speak. And I had saved the tour specials for the month before the concert. And it just made such a big difference. So the fact that you had that insight too of wanting to honor the album, you do a lot for the fan community. So thank you for your hard work that you put into everything. We can feel it and we appreciate it.
I am very much just one of you, but I love doing it. Yeah, it was really weird seeing the listening figures on the various episodes and realizing that build up of at least sort of within the last 3 months before the tour was Talking Corners tour was about to kick off, seeing the listening figures on the specials specifically, I knew that people were doing that and they were hyping themselves up to hear what that community loved about the band. And can you imagine what we've recorded together? We were recording some, experiences of meets and greets and meeting the band, and there was people that went to the gigs with us on this tour that's just gone, that had listened to our special episodes, listening to our experience of meeting the band and imagining that could have been them. And for some of them, it was them. And they were able to live that. I'm so grateful to be trusted with recording people's experiences in this manner, and so trusted that listeners are bothering to come back because they emotionally connect in a very real and raw way with the love we have for this band and this music. I don't take that lightly at all. That's not, I just press record. I just press record. It's the community of people and their passion that comes across. And it's such an honor to be able to capture that and to be able to give that back out into the world for others to be encouraged by. It's such a joy, honestly.
What can I do to make you care? What can I say to make you feel this? What can I do?
Hi, this is Anne from Laguna Beach. Wanted to say hi, shout out to Rachel, Francisco, Christine, Rosa, Chris, Simon, Patricia, Corrs UK, Corrs Brazil. Thank you. Loved meeting all of you. The Corrs are just, what a beautiful group of people. Thank you for letting me adopt you on the tour. And the Corrs cast, Simon, the details and the stories, well, I would never know about the band. So thank you for creating it.
Hey, my name is Damon. I've been a Corrs fan since all the way back in 1995, growing up in a small town in South Australia. They were my beacon to the outside world. And here I am, almost 30 years later, living in New York, still as big a fan as ever.
I wanted to take this moment to start a breakdown of us going through each of the gigs in turn and maybe picking out some of for those that did attend those gigs or others that didn't attend that may have questions they want to interject or how did this differ from that gig, and just go through gig by gig, starting with the incredible Belfast gig. Ivo, this was your first ticket in hand to see the band that you've loved for decades perform live in front of you.
Yeah, so Brazil has a big fanatic core. We are called fanatic cores, and many of us never seen them live. So this was our time, you know. We are going, even if we don't have money, we are going. So we booked the flights. And with me was, there were a lot of Fanatic Corrs fans, and especially my friend who was my first friend on internet of the Corrs fans. So we were able to go to Belfast to watch the gig, and it was our first time seeing them live. It was our first time seeing them on the backstage, you know, so it was just incredible. Everything was so perfect.
Am I right in thinking that you met the band prior to the gig?
Yes.
Tell us how that came about.
Yeah, when Sharon came to Brazil, we had a very, I wouldn't say intimate contact, but a very important contact with her manager, because all the things that happened here in Brazil, where the fans played for her in a meet and greet with her before the gigs. So it caused, I think, a huge impact on Sharon and her manager. There are a lot of fanatic Corrs coming to the gigs. They never went to see them live. They would love to meet them at the backstage. So we did, because of Julia. Thank you, Julia, if you're hearing this. It was very special for us. And that was the moment I will never forget. With Sharon at the backstage of The Voice, I was really shaking. With the Corrs, I was 3 times more, you know, especially when I saw Andrea in front of me. She didn't say anything. I wasn't saying anything. I was expecting her to say hi, vice versa, you know. And I was just, oh my God, I love you. Just saying that. I couldn't speak. I didn't even got her signature, only Caroline, Sharon, and Jim, because I was petrified, you know. But it was a huge moment, especially seeing Caroline for the first time. My inspiration on learning the Baron. Yeah, it was nice that I gave everyone a little gift. And when I delivered to Jim, he said, "Oh, it's for me." And I was thinking, yeah, it's for you. And I thought, oh my God, he doesn't get a lot of attention as the girls, you know? So I was, oh, poor Jim. And it was kind of cool, he's saying that. Jim was kind of surprised with the gift. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's always cool to hear of somebody meeting the band for the first time. And especially when you hadn't seen them perform live before. What a thing to happen prior to that. Because from my understanding, while the support act Natalie Imbruglia was playing, that's when the meet and greet took place. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes. At the beginning of her concert, when she started singing, we were already at the left side of the stage to go to the backstage.
What an amazing experience for Brazilian fans. Like,
Yes,
incredible.
it is.
And those that are listening, congratulations on such an incredible experience. And
Yeah, they never came here, you know.
no,
So,
exactly.
yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, well done for your fanaticism and your following. It's just lovely to see fans travel that far. It really is.
Yeah, because you know, in Brazil, since 2002, we go to São Paulo for Fanatic Corrs meeting at Ibirapuera Park to play the Corrs. Everyone get together with their instruments, violin, baron, guitars, and we played like 2 p.m. for until 6 p.m., 4 hours of the Corrs. So come to Brazil and you can be part of that, you know.
That sounds like a lovely invitation.
The Corrs don't play more than 2 hours, so we can play 4 hours. So come to Brazil.
Yeah, we can definitely leave it to the fans to make up that difference. Yeah. Who else went to the Belfast gig?
Let me share something with you, Simon, which
Sure.
I definitely know Andrea is gonna be really proud of us. Talk on Corners tour not started on the date of the first gig. It started the day before, on Rachel's birthday, on the Duke of York, Ireland Bar. It was a really great moment. There was Chris Hall. Chris Hall was there. We were there just hanging around, having a great moment. We have such an amazing photographs from these ladies that were celebrating a 50 year. It was a 50 a birthday for her 50 year that she got. So it was great. So basically everything started on an Ireland bar. It was great. We had some Cabernet Sauvignon. Indeed, I saw Rachel having some wine, so I just opened one bottle right now to say cheers. And it was definitely great. And I would say Belfast, it was a good start.
Yeah, happy birthday, Rachel. What a way to start a tour, right? It's to celebrate her birthday as well. So yeah, happy birthday. The Belfast gig is the first glimpse we had at this set list. I'm just going to briefly run through the set list for listeners at home. There will be an image of the set list from one of the gigs in the show notes below, so you can follow along. But as previously mentioned, they very unusually, but I'm glad for me because it is my favourite intro of the band, started with what we knew from Borrowed Heaven of the Baby Be Brave intro, which was lovely, and then went into Only When I Sleep, Give Me a Reason, Lough Erin Shore, into obviously Forgiven Not Forgotten, Summer Sunshine, What Can I Do, White Light, Closer, Don't Say You Love Me, Little Wing, Joy of Life, Ellis Island, Spansel Hill, Old Town, Radio, Queen of Hollywood, Dreams, So Young, I Never Loved You Anyway, and Runaway, and then came back after an encore with Lag and Love, Breathless, and then Minstrel Boy into Toss the Feathers as a finale. Incredible, powerful set list. Those of you that were at that first Belfast gig, what was that like to experience? Chime in, please.
For me, it just being in Belfast in itself was pretty crazy. I was like, what the heck? You just hear about the city, you feel like, oh, it's war and things like that. And then you go and it's like, we're enjoying Rachel's birthday and we're having all this great food. And then I go and it was, I remember going to the show and thinking, I have first row in this at this concert, and I was just like, when you were asking about Belfast, I just looked at my pictures because again, we went to 9 shows, right? I'm trying to see where I was seated, and I'm like, it's so crazy. I can see like their pores. This is how close we are to them,
They're human.
And they're gorgeous, right? I mean, you and Rachel took some amazing professional videos of the shows. Just being in Belfast is just like, what? This is so special, to have this kind of deep love for music and this band, to go literally across the globe in such a cold country. I mean, I was free. I mean, every day I was freezing. I mean, Wendy had to warm me up every single time we were together. But it was like every single time, it was like worth it. And then when I heard, for me, because Belfast was the first concert, and then I hear Old Town for the first time ever live, I just lost my mind. I was just so happy and just like I was jumping. I was like, oh, it's probably not good for my knees, but I don't care. I'm gonna hurt tomorrow and things. But I think just for it to be to start that off, that tour, it was electrifying, static electricity.
Yeah, there's one person that definitely I want to bring her to the scene, which is Ella Germain, which I hope she performs on February at Australia. So we were walking the day of the first gig at Belfast, and we went to this Titanic museum to see the experience. And suddenly, just outside the arena, we got to see Ella, and we kept talking with her like for around 10 minutes. And she ended up being the social media manager, which is something really, really great. It was really important to have contact with her. So it was really great. One other person that definitely is part of this adventure is Kaylin Ford, which is we're gonna talk about her. She's an incredible girl, and she was the one in charge of the VIP packages, these beautiful lunch boxes that we got. So it's glad that from the very, very beginning, we got to have contact with new friends, new people, and you said, well, we will discuss about it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mention those extra people that are part of this crew that aren't just the band that made it so different. And to realize, oh, Ella Germain is on board as a social media manager for this tour. Oh, wow. So that was really cool to know prior to joining you at Manchester. Let's move on to the Dublin gig. Any fan obviously wants to see the Corrs live in Dublin. Who wants to go first? Who's going to kick me off telling me all, and the listeners, all about Dublin?
I think Dublin was the best because from start to finish, we were standing from since the beginning of the concert. So it was, even Don't Say You Love Me, they were singing out loud. So in Belfast, that wasn't happening, so I think Dublin was more than special. Even if I was behind Christine in Belfast, I was singing with my lungs. And she said, oh, you were behind me singing out loud. Yes, it was me.
Yeah, I wanted to add, in Dublin, I was not on the floor, right? I had a seat way up in the grades, but it was the first show I was seeing after a very long time. But then after the show ended, I was like, oh my God, this has been like the best thing ever. Because, okay, I had seen them before at the Royal Albert Hall, but that experience was completely different. It was very intimate. People were sitting down. But in Dublin, I think it was crazy. It was like I could hear people singing, the energy of the people. The band was like really emotional as well. Like even if I was far away, I could see like they were emotional. And for me, it was like, it can't get any better than seeing them perform in Dublin. It's their homeland, right? So for me, it was wow. Yeah. I cannot even say that's the best gig because for me, it's like, it's different. It has its own category, right? It's Dublin. So for me, yeah, it was a great experience. And I had not met only Francisco from 2017, but I had not met anyone prior to the gig. So I was really alone on the grades in my seat. surrounded
Wow.
by other fans that, okay, maybe I won't see them ever again, but the energy around me was also really special. So yeah, for me, it was amazing. A great gig. Great, great, great one.
I think that home crowd really makes the difference, doesn't it? It's that,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a big difference between a gig you're experiencing with other people that are all in the same mindset and in tune emotionally with what they're hearing and their response to it. It can make or break a gig, which I'm sure we'll discuss as we get into other venues, but
Yeah.
we're slightly different than that. Taliya, tell us of your first time seeing them live.
So Dublin was the only show I went to. It was the ultimate for me. I actually prepared a top 5 highlight moments.
This is
So,
wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this. This is great. I can't wait to hear what these are.
okay. So, just like Rosa, I also had a seat, and I was so happy because I have a bit of a disability where one leg's shorter than the other. Not that it, prevents me from rocking out and jumping and dancing for my favorite band, but we're older concert goers, so it was nice to be able to sit down and enjoy the show. The crowd was electric from the beginning. I agree with Evo that they were at a 9 or 10 from the beginning. And my number 5 moment was Natalie Imbruglia. I think their music goes hand in hand, and uh, just like Wendy saying, it's not nostalgia, it's daily listening. I always find her songs on my playlist. So she was definitely a highlight for me. And seeing her just get so involved and be present in the moment with her performance was really, really beautiful. When the sound cut, everyone who went to the Dublin show will remember that moment. The sound cut and the crowd started to sing Torn. So the sound cut, she left the stage because obviously, they had to figure out what was going on. We started singing Torn, and she came back out when they had fixed everything and said, "Wow, you guys just made my whole year. This was such an amazing thing to hear." And those are the special moments. I think those unplanned moments at a concert are really special. And to take it back to the day before the concert, before I go through the other 4 moments, I had gone to Dundalk to complete my pilgrimage of figuring out where the band, where their soul kind of lies and where their musical origins are. And it was such a good experience. I mean, Dublin, of course, such a great city. But I think the connection for all of us with Dundalk made it special. I got there and went to the tourism office and I say, "I'm a Corrs fan. Do you have any recommendations of where I can go?" And the lady and the man at the tourism office were like, "Wow, you're not the first fan who's come around this week. We've had a ton of fans coming."
Nice.
And she was just like so impressed that we'd come all the way from South Africa. And the man who was in the room, also part of the tourism office, he's like, "My wife went to school with Andrea." And I guess everyone over 50 is going to have known them because it's such a small town. And she kind of gave us a path to walk past where they had played. And now those buildings are office buildings. So you kind of have to imagine the hallowed halls of where they had performed. And I went past the church in the town and obviously made my way to McManus's. And when I got to McManus's, wow, I was overwhelmed. My mom looked at me and said, "I've never seen you look at another person the way you're looking at this wall right now."
There's a mural there now, isn't there?
Yes, there's a mural there with the band and the instruments. I'm sure all of you have seen it online. I was really, overwhelmed, very emotional. I touched the wall and got so so emotional. People were there going about their business, driving, doing deliveries, and looking at us like, "Who are these people? Why are they here?" But I'm sure they're used to the Corrs being such a big part of Dundalk and Dundalk's history. And everyone in the town had nothing but nice things to say about the band and who they are. We also were told that, if you had come when they weren't on tour, you'd find Jim hanging out in one of the pubs, just having a drink. And the lady at the tourism office told us that the city wanted to use one of their songs for a promotional marketing video, and the band just said, of course, don't even think about it twice. Please use our song. So just it was a confirmation of who they are as a band and as people, and how connected they are to their roots, and what the reasons why we all love them. So that was Dundalk, and I was so happy I had done that the day before. Going back to the tour, after Natalie had ended her set, my mom was like staring at me, saying, I've never seen you so happy. I'm so nervous. She was kind of vocalizing what was going on inside of me, freaking out. But I'm jumping all over the place. Excuse my lack of order here. But before we entered the venue, just like now three, since I know Christine, three lovely apparitions appeared from from out of the blue. I just see Rachel, Francisco, and Christine outside the venue, having chatted to them online, and that just made the experience so much better. Just meeting them from the podcast, their connection with you as well, Simon. We exchanged some gifts, and it just it made the dream so real. I was here, other fans are here, we're here to experience this together. It was so special. And when the concert started, hearing Only When I Sleep, having heard it so many times, DVDs, albums, all of that, I think we've all heard every possible version of all of these songs. The first two songs, Only When I Sleep and Give Me a Reason, I was overwhelmed. I don't even remember being in the room, which is why you guys are so lucky that you were able to attend more than one, because the feeling really sunk in, and then you could get into the detail of each song. But the number 4 point on my highlights is the sound quality. The DVDs are brilliant, but it doesn't do it justice. My mom and I were sitting there, and we were like, we could feel Caroline's drumming in our heart. You could feel it thudding through your body. And it reiterated how polished they are. The sound quality was brilliant. And I think we all know from the interviews they've done, they always made it a point to play live as much as they could. And that just shone right through, their skill. They're highly, highly skilled. The song that I really noted the sound quality was Dreams. I think the bass and the drums are really highlighted in that song, and they just rocked it out. Anyone who thought they were a nice, sweet Irish band needs to come to their shows, because they know how to rock really, really hard. Number 3 on my list was seeing Keith and Anto performing with the band. I think for us who have watched the DVD so many times, Keith and Anto really round out their sound and complete the set piece that we know and love. And the chemistry between the two of them and the band is it's amazing to witness. I especially love, Caroline and Keith's interactions on stage, because drums is about the only thing I understand. So it was great to see that. And Keith and Anto have aged so well also. You watch Lansdowne Road and see them live now, there's not much difference at all. Number 2 on my list is Ellis Island, Joy of Life, and Minstrel Boy. I feel those 3 songs on the set list really highlighted the raw talent of the band. I think Ellis Island is a song where they could very well be in their living room performing just with each other, having just an after dinner kind of performance. I was very moved by that. Joy of Life is my favorite instrumental of them. It just was electrifying to hear it live. Sharon is so skilled. Francisco. And Minstrel Boy, when I saw Jim and Sharon performing that together, I couldn't help but think of, well, these were the seeds of the band,
Yeah, yeah.
them performing as a duo and saying, well, we could make this work. Let's try it out. So that was beautiful. I just thought their encore had such nice ebbs and flows with Lag and Love. Then they took us up again, and then they brought it down and took it back up, before, in between Breathless and Toss the Feathers. It was so smart how they did it. And my number one highlight of the concert, it may sound cliche, but for me, which I had mentioned to Rachel when we met the next day, for 25 years, this has been in my head. I've been very private about being such an intense fan of the band, just because, like we've said, everyone knows the band because of you. You're the connection to the Corrs in your family. So no one really understood my love for them and why. I realized sitting there in that concert that this is the first time I've ever sang these lyrics out loud. And I went from being in my room, in my earphones, all in my head, to a room full of people there for the same reason. It was very moving, very emotional. I almost cried a few times, but the joy inside me just prevented those tears from falling. And getting to sing those lyrics out loud, I'll never forget it. It will be baked in me forever. So those were my highlights. Seeing them in Dublin and knowing that, Bono was possibly there, and probably all of their friends and family also sharing that moment with us. It just made everything come full circle. And it's just an experience I can never repeat or will want to replace. It's been over a month, and I wish my eyes could have recorded what I saw. But thanks to Rachel and Simon's amazing filming, we've got such good moments. So yes, that was my summary of the show. It was brilliant. They are so much better live than anyone could ever imagine. No video does them justice.
Thank you so much for conveying that so succinctly. That was beautiful. And I heartily agree that the band live compared to even their recordings, or just seeing something that you can hear performed organically live in front of you with each of the elements separated, and you can see it all working and coming together to produce that sound. Yes, you know how it's done, but there's a magic in that, and there's a synergy, and there's a family synergy in that is not replaceable by anything I've ever seen before. So yeah, we're very lucky that they're back on tour, and you were specifically lucky to have that background to visit their hometown, their roots, and then go with your family, with your mum, to see them live. Incredible. Thank you for being so giving.
There are some other highlights, important highlights. Paul David Hasson, also known as Bono, was there in the crowd. So he was right there, like with us. He arrived after the first songs started, and he left before. Obviously, he didn't want to take all the attention. I mean, we all loved Bono. Honestly, when we saw him, we thought, he's gonna sing Summer Wine or some stuff, but it didn't happen. But he was there. There was also John O'Donnell, which is this great artist from Dublin, from Ireland, that I have to tell you about it. There is one really great insight, and you will see on my social media, and you know the story, Simon, Rachel, Christine. I was recording this part from Andrea from Sunshine, where she says, and Belfast, nobody needs to know. So specifically on Dublin, since it's the hometown, she didn't say Dublin. She said 3D Arena. That was the only place where she didn't mention the actual city. Instead of that, she said the 3D Arena, which was something really cool. One great thing about Dublin is that in Spanish, we don't say Dublin, we say Dublin. And for some reason, people love the way it sounds. It says Dublin, which is really, really cool. And one other great thing that goes apart from the venue is that we were just walking around, Rachel, Taliya, and myself. Also, Christine with some of the points. And you, Simon, you were our guide. So you were telling us where to go, which bars, where we can find each photograph. So we went to the Captain America bar. We went to the cafe in Scene. We went to the Wheeland. So we were just walking around and just imagining the things that were happening there like 30 years ago, like almost 30, 25, 30 years ago. So it was really, really, really great. So thanks for that. You were guiding us, like, a lot of
You were really welcome. I wasn't particularly well. I'd had some flu, which I still might have now. We'll find out. And I was in bed, and all of that week, I had fans from all over the world contacting me personally and going, "Hi, I'm going to be landing in Dundalk, or I'm taking a train, and I'm doing a bus to Dundalk. I've only got this set amount of time. Where do my feet need to lead me to go from the train station to go to A, B, and C? I need to see these things. This will be the only opportunity I'll have in my life to see this building or to experience where this was recorded. Where's the gatehouse? Which room in the gatehouse? Which window can I see where Forgiven Not Forgotten had its infancy, and where was it written?" And to be able to just be like feeling like rubbish, but then knowing those streets really well, and me have taken that pilgrimage, as we've said many times, to be able to guide other fans that I knew that this was their opportunity to do it, even though I was feeling like rubbish, was such a joy. It was really fun to be like, "Oh yeah, you need to do this, and this. Here's the GPS coordinates to exactly where you need to go and how many minutes it takes to walk there. Run." Because you don't want to, like Christine said, you don't want that regret. If this is your only time flying all the way to Ireland, specifically for this band, and you want to at least touch something of where this all originated from, these are the sites you need to touch. And this is your moment. Enjoy it. So I had loads of, once I got back from the tour, I had loads of other messages of thanks of like, yeah, I've unpacked now. But thank you. You made it that extra special because we were able to go to that place. Without you, we wouldn't have known quite where to go in the time frame we needed. So yeah, really cool. It's really cool.
Thanks for that. It remembers me exactly the same. Darren guiding me across New Zealand to go to the to the what can I do spot. So I drove like 90 minutes just to be there and just to see. I think it was great. Thanks so much for that, Darren. You know that I love you.
I would love to hear Rachel's report of Dublin. So just to give my experience of that, I was not in Dublin. I went to Iceland first to see another musician who I love. And so I was in, the other side of the world in Iceland, seeing the reports, asking Rachel like how the gig was in Dublin on the WhatsApp group, and there were a lot of capital letters and a lot of exclamation marks from what I remember. Just like she just made it sound like it was incredible, like community experience, and just then even though I was like loving my time in Iceland, and wouldn't take it back for anything, at that moment I was like, felt a little bit of FOMO for not being in Dublin, but yeah, so I'd love to hear Rachel's report on Dublin.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. I was in bed, I was sick, wondering if I was going to get well enough to even be able to get out of bed and drive 4 other people around to every gig. It was just knowing that I couldn't go to Ireland, but I'd been before, which was fine. I couldn't go to that Dublin gig, and then seeing the pictures of all of the community that had amassed around that specific gig and I wasn't there. Yeah, I was there was some FOMO. Yeah, Rachel first, and then we'll go to Ivo. Tell us what that was like, that community feeling of having so many fans focusing on specifically those Irish gigs.
Well, I think for me, Dublin was just so special because it was one of those places that you could always for me, coming from Australia, Dublin was always the ultimate place to see the Corrs for me. And I guess just being there, and I had an amazing spot right at the front, and it was just, the atmosphere was just electric, as Wendy said, and it was just, as soon as they came out on stage, everyone was on their feet, and I just knew as soon as they came out, I was like, oh, this is going to be the best ever. And I think for me, like previous gigs I've been to, like they've all been amazing, but for me, the influence of the crowd around me really enhances the experience, because I feel like I can just really just enjoy to the max, and I'm surrounded by people who feel the same way as I do. And so as soon as they came out on stage and everyone just stood up straight away, and I thought, oh, this is going to be amazing, and it really was, and it was just, the atmosphere was just magic. It was, from the get-go, everyone was excited, and they felt, just obviously the band was really receptive to the audience reaction, and the vibe of it was just so special and amazing, and it was different to any gig that I'd experienced before. So for me, that was just a wow moment for me, because it was something that I'd always dreamed of, and it lived up to every expectation that I could have hoped for that gig, for sure.
Speaking for Fanatic Corrs, it was kind of around 20 people from Brazil going to the concert, and we were sharing the same passion, the same love, the same excitement to see them alive for the first time. The expectations were higher, and everything was more than I expected. It was brilliant, it was superb, it was I'm depressed. I'm depressed here in Brazil, back to Brazil. But it was amazing, just bringing something to the table. At the first gig, when we were listening for the first time the set list, they usually play Runaway, Breathless, and Toss the Fairies as the encore. But this time it was Runaway, and they get off the stage, and I was, okay, so it's going to be Breathless and Toss the Feathers. But they started Lag and Love, and I was, what? Sorry. I was, what the? And I was, oh my God, my favorite song from Home. And I wasn't really expecting that. And they finished, okay, so what's next? And the lights go down with only on Sharon and Jean. And in my head, I was like, wow, what's coming next? And I was thinking that they were playing Haste the Wedding Part 1, Sharon solo from Royal Albert Hall, 1907. And then I was so thrilled that I didn't think it was Minstrel Boy. I thought it was Haste the Wedding Part 1. And my friend said, no, it was Minstrel Boy. And I was, what? Really? So in Dublin, I could confirm it was Minstrel Boy. But it was incredible. The Brazilian crowd was in a union that I can't measure the love to tell you all.
Beautiful. I could see that from the pictures and the videos and the messages of goodwill that were being sent my way and around the various social media platforms, that, there was a lot of love shared for the band, and a lot of love for the community as a whole and for each other being witnessed and, like I say, shared about at those gigs. And I was jealous to not be there, but I was definitely there in spirit, and I'm definitely there now.
I wanted to say something about Dublin. When we got into the stadium, to me, Dublin was the time when we met so many people that we were following each other on social media and have been communicating, and we're like, we have to meet up. And, some of them were like Corrs names, right? Of some kind. So I didn't really know what they looked like, but Ian from Corrs Philippines just came up to me, came up to us. We have all kinds of pictures. And then, after the gig, people taking the group pictures, I feel like it was like the start. It really was the start of this bigger family group, from social media into like live action, like interaction of it was nonstop. So many pictures, so many conversations. And then, getting into the gig. And I was lucky enough to move from 20th row to the first row with Francisco. And it was great. It was crazy. Francisco knows, we were, everyone around us, behind us, is just all the crazy, singing from beginning to end. I knew, I was like, oh man, this is only the second gig, and I was already losing my voice. I mean, I have projects coming up that I'm not supposed to lose my voice, but I'm like, you know what? You can't help it. Just the synergy of every single person. And then looking around and I'm like, and then meeting them after. And like Eva was saying, it's like, hey, like you see each other just singing and just smiling and just like sharing that love for this music. And it's like, and I'm glad that we're doing this because like Rachel was saying, like some of it is a blur. So to hear it from different people, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. And this is what it was. But yeah, I mean, in Dublin and Bono being there, I mean, it was pretty amazing.
Taliya and Ivo, this was your last gig witnessing the band on this tour. What was it like? Obviously, it was amazing. We've heard your experience of this incredible gig, but what was it like having to say goodbye to the other fans and knowing, obviously, they were going on to potentially another 7 gigs? How was that for you coming home? Was there that like post-gig come down? Or yeah, I would love to know more about that experience before we move on, just to honor what that felt like.
For me, I had realized that I've made new acquaintances, new friends, which I never thought was possible. Like I said, like I keep saying, I've been in my head with this, my love for this group for so many years. So it was a little bit jarring to be kind of shook out of that headspace where you're just thinking, okay, it's just me, I'm here, and you know. But Rachel and Francisco and Christine were so warm and welcoming, and we met the next day at Whelan's, which obviously another nod to the band's history. And it just felt like we've known each other for so long. We just clicked, and the bond already existed because of the love for the band. So post-concert blues for me, I think happened when I came home about a week later and seeing all of you guys' updates. Obviously, I wish I could be there, but I think you all captured everything so well that we could follow along happily, and economically also. But for me, though, the post-concert blues that I expected didn't happen because I now had some kind of connection to what was going on for the week that followed. I had Rachel, Francisco, Christine that I could follow and just, chat to them and say, how's it going? What's happening? And it still felt like being part of it. So it didn't hit me as badly. And I think all of us meeting up like this now, it keeps the momentum going and keeps that hype for the band and the love for the band going. So for me, post-concert blues, it's more like I'm looking forward to January when you guys are posting your next updates. That's where I am with that.
Yeah, definitely for me, everything I was posting, I was very conscious I wanted to bring others along with me in what I was doing. So I'm glad that was felt, at least in some part. I remember first hearing about your name and Francisco was like, oh, there's Taliya. She's with us in Whelan's, because I told them the location and, you should go there because of the band's history, etc. I'm like, yeah, that'll be one of the places. We've got time. Let's do it. And you were there too. And then Francisco was like, oh yeah, Taliya, she's from South Africa. She's a really, really big fan for like over 20 years. We need her on the podcast. And I'm like, yes. So you were name number 1 on my giant notepad file of shout outs and the madness that is making 9 time zones come together in one to celebrate the cause.
I'm happy because if Christine says, she feels like she needs to up her game. I need to up my game way up to reach where you guys are. So, the community has been so great. I never thought it would be like this, but it's amazing. It feels like a warm hug.
Good, because there's always shadow and fringes and sharp edges of every fandom community online, and online can be quite a brutal and harsh and horrible place for lots of fans of lots of things. And I'm really glad you feel welcome, accepted, and honoured for the fan you are and will be. So yeah, you're very welcome. Ivo, any final thoughts before we depart Dublin?
Yeah, I knew from the beginning I was going to regret if I couldn't see at least 2 concerts. And like Taliya said, I was sad when I arrived in Brazil 1 week later. But at the same time, it was good to see you all watching from social media. I felt I wasn't alone, I wasn't a hype yet. Even when discovered that Sharon wasn't going to play in Glasgow, I was, oh, that's sad, but so I felt sad maybe after the tour finished, but thank God next year we will have more. Even I can go, but it's going to be amazing to see those concerts.
I remember first hearing which gigs you were going to and realizing that our paths wouldn't cross at all on this tour, and feeling, really sad. We've obviously chatted on social media together for many years now, and I know your love and passion for the band and everything you've done with Fanatic Corrs, which is wonderful to see and to feel even on this side of the country. So it was, if there's any down points about this tour, it's not getting to meet you in person and to discuss the band we love together face to face. But that'll happen. Yeah. One day we'll get there.
I hope they come to Brazil and you all are invited.
Well, I can't think of a better excuse. I mean, there's you, obviously I get to see you, but I can't think of a better excuse for me to travel to Brazil than that. Yeah.
Helen. I'm from Aberdeen in Scotland. I just want to give a huge shout out to the fans, old and new, that I met on the latest tour in the UK and Ireland. I also, I'm a huge fan and have been for 26 years. The tour meant so much to me. I felt I could be myself as usual, as always. I love this podcast. I love the band, and the fans are fantastic.
Okay, we move on from Dublin to my first gig of this tour, which was Manchester. So I picked up various people from an airport, met them face to face for the first time after having a couple of specials discussing their experience with the band and the music over the years. And there we all were in a car together, traveling into Manchester after Christine had very successfully and very elegantly booked all of our accommodation. So I was the driving guy. I had a wheel, I had some petrol. Christine had very thankfully gone to the trouble of booking all our accommodation. That was her responsibility in this madness. But meeting them was great. But knowing that evening, like there's a gig. What's going on? Somebody else start me off on what Manchester was like for them, because I know what it was like for me. But I'd love to reflect back, hearing what others thought first.
So I got to meet you, Simon, in Manchester. And you actually helped me to be on the front row, right?
That was a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great moment because I had not experienced a first row concert. I had no expectations regarding a first row concert like ever. And Manchester was an all standing. We were standing up from the very beginning as well.
Yeah.
So seeing them that close and being able to share the concert with people that love the band, it was amazing. And a part that I really loved from this concert was seeing you interact with Sharon, during the boop boop, right? And like, what? Oh my God. That was great for me. Yeah. I really love that concert because of the energy. I was so close. I could see them. And Queen of Hollywood is actually my favorite song. So, and this might be like a little bit embarrassing, but I used to sing this when I was 16, 17, with all my heart, that you're so young, you have so many dreams. And then you're on this arena, singing it out loud, pouring your heart out, right? And it's like, wow, I mean, you made it far, right? It's like, wow. It's like a full circle moment. It was amazing. It was really an amazing experience as well.
I didn't realize I'd been able to contribute to that moment or that gig for you quite that much. I knew obviously there was by hook or by crook, there was opportunity for you to be able to get next to me front row. And I was like, oh, I don't know this person, but they obviously want to, there's the opportunity.
Exactly.
So we just made it happen. We didn't know each other prior to this. But obviously I want fans to experience the best they could. And there was an opportunity, nobody else I'd spoken to. It was just the right time, no puns intended. And it just worked that you were able to, not have a view that was inhibited by anybody else in front of you, because you're not particularly tall of stature, are you, Rosa?
Exactly.
So exactly. I was like, that was another reason. I was like, yeah, this person really needs to get closer to the front if they can to really experience this gig. And then, it's hilarious. I do remember singing the Sharon's backing vocals moment, and her realizing we were doing that. It was that was a fun moment.
I'm really grateful to you for that experience, for allowing me to be like first row. But after that concert, I was completely spoiled. Like, there's no way I'm not gonna be first row from now on, right? So, it was a great experience. I really loved that concert.
Yeah, I was looking around and everybody was on their feet. Everybody was into this.
Everybody.
But prior to this gig, just outside when we were waiting to be let in, something I really noted for all the other gigs onwards was the large crowds to get in the venues for a seated gig. And I'd never experienced that with the Corrs before. There was crowds and crowds of people outside. This isn't a standing allocation trying to get a good spot. This is all pre-allocated seats for all of these gigs. And there was some occasions on some of these gigs, hundreds of people waiting in the cold outside to just enter the venue and be with other fans and be with each other prior to this, to have this as a gig, a night out and a gig experience. And I was like, wow, this is different. They've really achieved some greatness here to have these venues as sold as well as they did. And then once the gig started, I'm like, wow, everybody around me is bouncing up and down and jumping around and singing their heart out and absolutely clapping along and loving this band. It was, for it to be the first one of 7 I attended and for it to be that good, I was, overwhelmed at times. I was like, I did it. I got here. Everybody's flown from all these other places. I've driven them. We've got here. We've done this. What I'd imagined for 9-10 months after booking these tickets, it was suddenly, it felt like the first 7 months had like dragged and dragged and dragged. And then the last sort of 2 months was like suddenly a blip. And suddenly I was there, I was in front of the band, and Only When I Sleep was being played in front of me. And I'm like, I know this song really well, really, really well. And its history. And it's like, brilliant. Let's just enjoy this and take as many people with me in enjoying this as much as possible I could at the same time. Yeah, even from that first gig, that the first time hearing Closer live in Manchester was spectacular, absolutely spectacular, breathtaking to hear the song stripped back so much to begin with, and then all the other elements being brought in and the backing vocals sounding and blending so well. Yeah, it was beautiful gig for me. Really, really enjoyed it. And Rosa, you electrified that and made it +1 and +2. It was a 12 out of 10 gig because the people around me were also into it. And I have to say, and I'll probably repeat this a couple of times, there was such an energy with the fans of, there wasn't any selfishness. There wasn't any, I need to get there, or wrestling with elbows to try and get closer to this because I'm the fan, or there was none of that. It was all very kind and fair, and everybody was lifting each other up to try and give them the better experience than they themselves could have, which was amazing to witness and feel. So yeah, very cool, very cool. Anybody else that obviously attended Manchester, what were your thoughts?
Simon, before you go on, I need to mention you brought up kindness of fans. In Dublin, my mom just about lost her mind when radio came on. And I think there was a demon inside her that just pushed her to her feet and made her stand up and want to dance. And she suddenly turned around and remembered that, there are people sitting behind her. And the guy behind her was just like, no, stand up. Let's all stand up and get moving and dance. So that really rang true. The fans were very kind and everyone was there for the same purpose. Just wanted to add that.
Just to add to what you were saying before, it was reflecting on back to the concerts and thinking about my highlights. I think the number one for me was just to witness the other fans enjoying themselves completely. And as you said, it was not a competitive thing. It wasn't, oh, they've got a better spot than me, or, they're a bigger fan than me, or anything like that. It was just pure love. Like, you would look around, and because we knew a lot of the fans that were in the front sections, something that I found particularly special is that I would look around and I'd say, oh, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so. And I'd be just witnessing them in their moment and just loving it as much as I was. And I was just genuinely so happy to see that person just in their element, just loving this moment, just exactly as I was. And it was not competitive. It was just, to me, it was just so special. And I just loved that moment because I knew how special it was for me. But to see someone else in that moment just enjoying themselves 100%, like they'd traveled from, so far away to be in this moment with me in this same space, but I knew that they were feeling exactly as I was. And to me, that was just, I think, reflecting on it all, that was the most special experience for me, is just knowing that these other people from all walks of life were just having that single moment and feeling of love that I was. And it was awesome. I loved it.
So in Manchester, I was sitting right behind Simon. Like, he was front row, a second row, like right behind. And show starts, we all stand up, right? And I get to the front. Probably, I think it was during closer, the security guard had sat up, right? And he's checking everyone with the bracelets. He finds out I'm not on the first row, I'm on the second row. And so I go back to my seat, which was not bad because I'm on the aisle. I mean, I had a full view, but like Rosa said, once you have first row, it's like that's what you want. That was like that's goal. But the thing that I felt protected from the fans is, so after that, I told the guy, hey, let me finish this song closer, never, and I'll go back to my seat. And I did. But the thing where I felt really protected was during the encore. I wanted to go up front and the guard was trying to stop me. The fans, including Simon and a stranger guy and the girl that I actually brought up there, that she's like 30th row and she's still sending me thank you things. They were all talking to the guy. He's like, leave her alone, just let her be. And I got to the front and I was just like after I talked to the guy, I mean, of course I knew like Simon and that girl, but this guy, I was like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much. Like he was like, leave her alone, let her up here. And I just felt like everyone wanted everyone to enjoy it, and I just felt so loved and like, who are these people that are like wanting me to be a friend? And I think for me, it just reiterates what you guys have been saying, how it's like, hey, come up here and enjoy it, sing and dance together. And that was Manchester for me.
Beautifully said. Cardiff, next gig. So I'd had this amazing gig. We drove to Cardiff from Manchester, which was a lovely city and great crowds. It was very cold that night. I remember the wind being particularly fierce and people shivering, and a good half an hour wait outside in some wind to even pile into the venue. Beautiful venue. I've got to be honest. It was probably the worst Corrs gig I've ever attended. And I don't say that lightly. The band were incredible. Yeah, the band were incredible. The sound was brilliant. But the atmosphere, just from my personal feeling, from what I experienced around me, the atmosphere of the crowd, and what I witnessed in the behaviour of some of the people behind me and around me was very negative indeed. And I don't particularly know why. I don't think it's Cardiff specifically or people from Cardiff, certainly not that. But the vibe that I felt and I perceived was really off. There was a lot of pushing and shoving and people shouting and threatening people to not stand up that I'd never experienced at a gig prior to that. And I just wondered if it was just me and I was feeling that, or wonder what the experience of others was, because I was very glad to have Manchester before that as a kind of like a target of what I wanted a gig to feel like on this tour. And then to suddenly go down to, I've never experienced this type of negativity or witnessed this type of negativity at a Corrs gig before. How was it for others?
Well, Simon, it wasn't not just you. It was Sharon also, that from the stage, she asked people to shut up. Like, hey, quiet. We are playing. So definitely it was something really weird what happened there.
So it was pretty much these fans were standing, but the security guard, I think for me, it was bad decisions on some of the security of like, and it was like a quiet song. Andrea is trying to sing, right? And like, they're like so loud, like vocally loud. And Sharon was like, stop it. And you're just like, and so Simon, I agree with you 100%, like the crowd. And like, I remember, because I think I was fourth row center. So I could see clearly. I mean, would I lie? I mean, we weren't getting much sleep, right, from from throwing around. So in a way, I was glad I got to sit, because you guys weren't standing up at all. So I didn't have to stand up, and probably security probably would have like attacked me if I stood up anyways. But what I was really impressed with was the band. You know, I remember you asking me like, what was that rating for you? And I said it was an 8. And you're like, really? Because you're like 4 or something. Because to me, the band they really kept it up. They were great, like against all this like kind of deadish crowd and like people fighting. So in my experience, I kind of saw, I see exactly what you're saying, but then I was so impressed that the band really like held their own and kept going. Like Andrea just kept singing. You know, I could see her, like she could see this fight happening in her periphery because she was kind of looking, and then Sharon's like, I mean, what a crazy thing to see, because we were right up there.
I remember specifically looking to my left. I think I was sat
yes
to the right, looking to my left and being like, what is going on over there? There is people mid-gig either shouting and pushing at each other, not facing the stage. They're having a straight-on argument in the aisle. And to the right of me, I'm looking to the right, and there's people walking out. And I'm like, what? They're on the stage. There's people that have travelled like 22, 24 hours flight to get here to witness this, and people are just walking out. It was like there was something in the water that day. It was really strange. There was people, the row behind me, row 2 on the aisle, that obviously they wanted a lovely time, and they were getting up and getting drinks multiple times. So they were missing like pivotal, like iconic songs by this band, because, you know, fine, people need loo breaks, and there's people that aren't able as much for standing up and stuff. But this just seemed like, oh yeah, this is the Corrs, let's go and have a jolly. And there's definitely all levels of fandom. But it was really disturbing for somebody to pay the ticket prices of a row 2 seat, VIP, and then seeing them not really involved or engaged with the music that was being played. It was I'd never witnessed that before. It's very odd.
Was that the same location where they spell the Corrs, Coors?
Uh,
Francis?
yes. Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so. We're like, huh.
Yeah, just for clarity for listeners, the venue obviously had posters for different acts that were going to come up on different dates, and they'd spelt the Corrs wrong on the venue. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird a concert. I agree. But the thing, is that unlike Manchester, they had given wristbands to the first 3 rows. So when I had a second row and I was like on the side, on Charlotte's side, and when they gave me the wristband, I'm like, so am I going to be able to stand up and go to the fence? And the security guard said, like, yeah, sure. So that's what I did, right? Like,
Sure.
but not really, because we were moving around with Chris, and we decided to stay on an aisle, a few seats on the back, and see whether or not people were going to stand up, and then go to the fence, because we had the wristbands. So, and nobody stood up. And we're like, no, we need to stand up. So we went back to our seats, and then some ladies like went into the aisle, and that's when the fighting began. And I'm like, I don't understand. And okay, we left, and towards the end, so young, I decided, I'm gonna go to the fence. I don't care. Like, they deserve this. I deserve this. So I went, and the security guard, like, I showed him my wristband, and he's like, yeah, but they don't, like, but look at me. I'm not gonna block anyone, right? Look at how tall I am. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, just stand up there, right? And I stood there, and then people stood up, but the pushing began, and I'm like, what is this? And after Manchester, it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. But like you said, the band was amazing. I don't know how they managed to be so focused on their music, on what they were playing, and not be distracted with everything that was happening. But it might have like an impact also on them, right? The way they feel. I don't know.
That's why I was wondering, was it just my perception of the gig? Because yeah, the band certainly gave no hint that they were feeling that or experiencing that from the stage, other than a few moments like you've mentioned before, Francisco, where Sharon was like, hey, quieten down, like what are you doing, like we're playing here. It was just odd. It was really very strange.
It was odd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I thought that was cute that for Sharon, I felt like protecting Andrea. It was a quiet moment. She was starting the song and she's singing, and she's like, I thought, be the big sister,
A protective moment.
Simon, I do have to say what's cool about Cardiff was, for us, course tripping, like we had some funny, great moments where we were staying, at nighttime, or like Francisco telling me, are you ready, while he's in his pajamas and I'm ready to go. Like, just funny moments. I felt like, we had our bedtime stories from you, and just like, it was such a funny time, just a lot of jokes. I think really the bonding, that's just like the second gig into our road trip. And it was like starting to just meld,
I totally agree with you. I didn't expect it at all. The first gig, we were still on a gig. I was still on a gig high. It was my first gig, and we got into the hotel, fine, woke up. But Cardiff it's such a beautiful city, and our accommodation was really suitable and fun, and we just gelled as a little road trip family in that moment. That was where we gelled, and it didn't separate. It was like, yeah, this is going to work. Yeah, like I said again, I don't want to poo-poo and say, that this is an overall negative experience. It wasn't, but it was just the crowd vibe. It was just the crowd vibe specifically was stark difference between Cardiff and Manchester for me. Next gig, Birmingham. Birmingham has a huge nostalgia kick for me. I've seen the band play in Birmingham many, many times. early 2000s to prior to that, and after that as well at the NEC with many tours. So it was a real highlight for me to realize I was going to be seeing my favorite band back in Birmingham again, because I'd had and met so many fans that I'm still lifelong friends with now 20 plus years ago at a venue like that. And I'm happy to report that walking into the venue, going to the VIP merch section, for the VIP merch was a lovely lunchbox for listeners that don't realize what the VIP merch was this time, which were an ongoing joke all week, was how many lunchboxes we had, but no lunch. It was really cool to get my VIP lunchbox, and being stopped multiple times by people. I didn't expect this, and going, "Hi, I heard you talking over there. You're Simon. You do the podcast, right?" And I'm just sort of like, "What? You recognize my voice?" So thank you. And I know there's going to be people that are listening that stopped me and said hi because they recognize my voice alone, which is amazing to me. I just didn't think that it was even possible. It really meant so much, and it felt like I was walking into a community of people that were absolutely on the same understanding and love for this band. To walk into that gig, like I said, with already so much nostalgia for me in the location and the venue, to come back, and then it felt like I was being welcomed back by a community of people with open arms that were enjoying the same love I had for the band. So yeah, that was really cool. Just as a beginning and starting of the band, to be recognized and congratulated on the work that I'd already produced, it meant so much. So thank you, those that are listening. It really meant a great deal, and still does.
I have to be really honest. For me, it was really hard to connect the different all the memories from the last days, because it's the fifth show. I mean, it's the fifth gig. So just to remember, when was that? Oh, Rachel, this bar, exactly which city? So it was starting to getting a mess. We didn't have a lot of sleep. So we really like to have some party on some Cab Sav, which is a Cabernet Sauvignon from the way that they call it in Australia. So cheers, of course, Rachel, cheers. So it was really, really hard just to put all the pieces in order. Like when does this happen? So we were I'm checking right now the photos just to remember what happened, because it was so much. I mean, it's the fifth, so it was definitely good moments.
With that point, Francisco, I mean, I was looking at the pictures too. That's why if I'm looking, that's exactly what I was looking at. But I now, like, I remember that so vividly. That was the night where after the concert, you guys went to the back and sang to the Corrs. So that part's pretty special. And then we all hung out at our hotel with the Americans. It's so funny. I call them the Americans as well, and I'm American, but with Anne and Jessica. But I remember that particular show as well, because again, I got that same second row where before I was behind Simon, and of course I was behind someone else, but that second row with that view. So it was another concert where I got to go up front and enjoy it. But I remember sitting with this older couple from there, and I would just sway with them, and they thought it was so fun. And this is like lady was like, can I friend you on Facebook? Like she just like loved like us, like she loved like it's so cool when people thank us from other rows for saying you guys are having so much fun. I just love your group. And like Rachel was saying earlier, like by this time it's like middle of the tour where I've met all you guys, and I'm looking at each person, what they're doing, and I'm just like, I smile, like I can't erase that smile. I kind of feel that right now too, this whole call. I'm like, this is so cool. But just looking, and I always look at Simon. I have this thing like because I know his front row somewhere in Francisco and Rachel, and it's just easier to find you guys front rowers. But I'm like, I'm right here, second, but then I somehow get to the front with you guys, and it's just, I don't know. I think the middle of that tour, what to me I'm remembering now is really like looking at you guys, looking at the different people, and like knowing each one and knowing like how you guys move and like even checking. I was like, can Roro see? Like she's like, I'm like, if I'm taller than somebody, they're pretty short because I'm not that tall. But I think, yeah, I just remember that. And again, we're back at the Hilton. Some of us, a lot of us, and just like staying up till crazy. That was, Simon, when you're like, did you guys really stay up till 4:30?
Yeah.
Because Rachel's trying to find Singapore tickets for the Corrs while we were touring for the Corrs. And it was gonna go on sale at 4:30 at that time. And Simon
we'll stay up. I mean, we'll stay up until that.
Yes. The three of us, Simon was disciplined because he had to drive the next morning.
Very disciplined.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I now remember about Birmingham.
I think it was that gig that the next morning I had a random Instagram message from somebody a couple of rows back saying, hi, were you at the gig last night? Were you front center with some of your friends? And I was like, yes. Thinking, oh no, where is this going to go? And then them saying, oh, well, I have something that you'll probably want. Can I have your email address? So I gave them the Corrscast email address. And they sent a picture from behind, obviously sat behind us, of us all arm in arm, like swaying to Runaway. I don't know which song it was, but it looked really cool. And it was such a cool moment that another fan that didn't know us, that was just sort of a casual fan a couple of rows back, saw the passion and the joy we were having, decided to take a photo of it, and then decide to try and find us to give us a picture of that photo.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm telling you, I was hoping that I'd remember to bring it up, but you brought it up, that picture was aside from like the band, just it's my favorite picture of in the concert, because you could see us just like,
you could see us, you could see the obvious joy,
Andrea right there,
and then the band in the background, and it was like, what? We'll post a picture in the show notes so others listeners can see. So after the gig, I know a number of us braved the cold with a group of other fans to wish the tour bus well and wish it off and give it a good wave. Who wants to tell and recount that story? Because it was great fun.
Well, here, Simon, we have to add something. It's an, how to say this? It's just a practice that I have done in the last
tradition now.
Tradition now.
A tradition.
I usually get a speaker. I get a speaker to each venue, because suddenly when the concert just ends, I mean, like you go like nostalgic, sad because there's no more music, and then I turn on the speaker with Corrs music, of course, and like the energy just come back to everybody. So we went to the back. We went to the back to see where the buses were, and one specific moment we saw all of them, all the Corrs, and they were waving to us like they were just getting into the buses. And by the time the buses went in front of us, we were like probably 15 people just hugging and singing Runaway to them. And of course they were watching us. And they were saying, hey, look at these guys saying Runaway to all of us, to wish you a good trip to the new venue, which would be Newcastle, I guess. Yeah.
I'm from Germany. I went to every concert of the tour and I just had the time of my life. I thought before the tour that the concert last year was hard to top for me. But I have to say this tour was even better, because it's not just about the music, it's also about the fans, about the people that you meet. I'm so incredibly grateful that I got to meet so many of you. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who came over, came to say hi, who took a photo with me, and also huge thank you to you, Simon, Rachel, Christine, Francisco, Anne and Jessica, Jan, Yvonne, so many nice people that I met. I loved spending time with you, and I'm so grateful that we had this time together. Just such an amazing time, and I do miss it. And I hope to see you all soon again.
That brings us really neatly on to the Newcastle gig. And I think we should probably start with Rosa. This was an extra special gig for you, and that specialness and that brilliance started prior to the gig. Is that correct? Tell us what happened.
Yes. So before we had the experience in Birmingham of the tour bus, I'm like, before that I had no idea there was even a tour bus. I'm like very green in touring. So I decided to just wait for the bus the next day at Glasgow. And I waited for like maybe about an hour, or maybe even more. It was really cold, just to see if the band came. And actually I had no expectations regarding meeting them. I wanted to give them my tour program, which was the only thing I had course with me, because I didn't bring anything, because I was with a carry-on, right? So the tour bus arrived, and there were two other guys with me there, and we waved. We didn't expect them to approach us or anything, but then Andra came, and she's like, just please don't take my picture because I look like a mess. And I was like, what? Like, no, you look better than I do on my best day, right? I didn't say that. I'm like just thinking it, right? But she's pulling her beanie on her face. And in that moment, you lose your, like, yeah, you cannot be nervous here, right? So, yeah, she signed my tour program, and she signed other things that the other two guys had. I couldn't think of anything. Like, I only asked her how was she feeling. Just like, I'm doing better, but I'm not supposed to be talking, right? And then I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, no. But I couldn't stop talking, and I'm like, hey, I traveled all over from Peru to see you. And she's like, oh, I hope you enjoy the show then. And I'm like, oh, it's my fault. It was actually the fifth, right?
Wow.
But I had already lost track, and I'm like, then, oh, geez. And then she chuckled, like, okay, right? Like, oh, okay, then you definitely enjoy these shows. And I'm like, yes, right? Thank you. And I'm just thinking, I hope she doesn't think I'm crazy, like the crazy person that goes to 5 shows. But yeah, it was actually really sweet from her to come and greet us, because she had been skipping the meet and greets because of her voice, I think, right?
She'd mentioned it a couple of times during a number of the gigs that she was Mandria instead of Andrea.
Mandria, yeah.
Because there was a definite huskiness to her voice, which was seemingly getting tired, more and more tired from gig to gig, especially when there was a gig after a gig and not a day's rest between. So yeah, she'd, from those I know that had attended the meet and greets prior to each show, from the English shows onwards or Welsh shows onwards, she hadn't been present at those so that she could not talk to fans and just keep herself and her voice the best it could be for the next gig and save it for that. So yeah, that was my understanding of it.
Yeah, so it was really, really sweet from her. She didn't have to do it. I was not expecting it, so I'm like really grateful. And it's an amazing experience to have your favorite singer like right in front of you. And in this case, because we are probably the same height, it's really in front of you, right? Like I can see your eyes, right? So I don't have to look up. But yeah, it was really, really nice.
That's really special. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Any other highlights from Newcastle for anyone?
I'll weigh in at this point because the Newcastle gig was the first gig that I joined you for.
Yeah.
So just to give a little bit of background info, and it is slightly Corrs related, but the night before I went down to Salisbury in the UK, and I went and saw a beautiful Irish folk singer called Cara Dillon. And there's a bit of a Corrs connection there because 20 years ago, my brother had bought me her CD, and he said to me, "Oh, she's a bit Corrs-ish, a bit Corrs-like." And
not a bad thing.
yeah, exactly. And so I've been listening to her for about 20 well, for 20 years. You know, she does a few crossover songs that the Corrs do, like sorry, I mean not crossover songs, but there are some crossover of repertoire like Black is the Color. And she's an independent artist, so she doesn't really come to Australia, and this was my one chance to see her live and meet her. And so I had gone from the day before, I had gone from London down to Salisbury. Saw this beautiful concert. She even dedicated the song to me, and then I chatted to her afterwards, and she was quite chuffed that I had missed a Corrs gig to see her. And then so I was up late, you know, from that concert. Next morning, got an early morning train from Salisbury up to Brixton, and then Brixton to Birmingham, and then I met this crazy car of Corrs fans, and it was like joining. It was like being the new kid in a school. Like these four people had all their existing jokes already, and I had to like quickly catch up to all this like all these jokes they'd had happening for the last few days. And when I first got to the car, they you know, there were hugs and everything. It was lovely, and there were these Corrs printed pillows, like little dolls sitting in the car, which are both cute and creepy at the same time. And then these guys said to me, they opened the boot and they said, "Ah, we don't think there's going to be room for your suitcase." And then they were like, "No, no, just kidding." So it's a bit like that. And I'm laughing.
Yeah, there was a couple of days build up of anxiety from a lot of people, me included, I guess, that is everybody's stuff going to even fit in the boot of the car? So we'd purposely packed it so it looked like there was absolutely no room whatsoever. So when we we were so cruel. So when we opened the boot and there we are on the street, you just rocked in to Birmingham New Street, and it was just like, oh, there is nowhere to put. And then we're just like, psyched, no, right, move it all around. There you go. Let's get going. That was a great moment.
Yeah, and then we drove up to Newcastle, and I was saying, oh, because you know I was expecting to be just sleeping that night while you guys get to the concert, and then Simon's like, no, 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 you're coming with us, and because Simon had managed to get some amazing, an amazing resale ticket for a great price, like in the A section, I think it was. So I have more to say on the Glasgow gig, so I'll keep what I'll say about Newcastle short. From what I could tell from your reactions, was that the audience in Newcastle were quite hyped, especially compared to Cardiff.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, and I think once again, there's always like every year that I see the Corrs, there's always that initial impact of, wow, Andrea is so good on stage and so sort of beguiling and flirtatious that whenever I see her performing, I'm like, I want to be more like that in person. And then I forget about it. And then I see her again. I'm like, how can I be more like Andrea Corr in person? So that was great seeing, you know, having that initial impact again. And then after the Newcastle gig, it was great to meet a few more Corrs fans. And then we were waiting for a while out in the cold to see the Corrs van go past again. It got to a point where I said, no, I need to go back and sleep now. So I think three of us went back in the car, back to the hotel, and I think Rachel and Francisco and a few others stayed out in the freezing cold.
I got my first kiss in that one, and Simon got that in video and got Andrea Corr blowing a kiss to me, and then my face like, and
Yeah, when you had a mini stroke, you're like,
yeah, definitely. We got this joke, and I'm okay saying it. Like I just pee right there, like what, like what's going on?
it was not a joke.
It was not a joke, right?
He just wet his pants.
It was the first of 3 kisses I got from her on this tour, so I'm glad.
That was the best moment ever.
Yeah.
But that whole thing was just great. I mean, I have to say, of course, I'm a little bit biased. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like we already were deciding us up front, like right when they come out, we're gonna just stand, right? We're just gonna stand, and I feel like it just sets this precedence of like, because we were just all into it and just dancing the whole time. And so, yeah, Newcastle was.
Yeah, it was great to be all together. And I definitely missed that from the other gigs when, yeah, we may have all been front row, but not next to each other. So we had that collective, we could look and turn and look at each other's eyes and be like, oh, I know what they're experiencing right now. I know what they're feeling right now. And like I said, we were like on a mission. We're here to support this band tonight on this gig, and we're all next to each other. We are resolutely standing for this. Yeah, it was great. Brilliant vibes. It made me think we need to get better at buying tickets.
I have to agree. That was, for me, I think that was the best moment.
This one. Yeah, it was.
I think there was the five of us. It was Francisco, me, Simon, Christine, Patricia. Having the five of us in a row, front row, together, that was just like the epitome of the best. That was the best. It was so fun.
Shout out to Patricia. Yeah, with a great crowd behind us that were just as into it as we were and just going brilliant for the band, just above and beyond. It was awesome. A wonderful gig. The next gig on the tour was beautiful Glasgow, but somebody, Christine, had the foresight, because there was a day off before it, to book us into Edinburgh. So we were able to spend our little road trip. We were able to spend a full day together in Edinburgh and explore the amazing Christmas market that evening. It was just another day of super amazing bonding and brilliance. It was wonderful, truly wonderful to spend that time off touring just together in each other's company and having the fun and the crack, as they call it. And yeah, it was wonderful. So thank each and every one of you that really made that such a special day. It was really cool. And especially those from Australia, like you were experiencing Christmassy stuff in the cold. Like, what's that like?
That was awesome.
Yeah, it made Christmas make sense. Yeah, so we went to these like beautiful Christmas markets in Edinburgh with like all the trees lit up, and I think the castle was lit up as well in the distance, and it was just the most magical feeling that I've not experienced, because Christmas where I come from is sweaty. Like we have Christmas markets too, but it's sweaty and hot. And this was just like cold and crisp, and we all had wonderful cups of mulled wine, and then we went on this like Ferris wheel, and it was just something out of a musical or a Hollywood rom-com, a Christmas rom-com. So yeah, I have very fond memories of that night.
Yeah, so it was really cool to have a day off, have a rest, to just socialize and maybe at some point not talk about the Corrs. Who'd have thought, hey? So we got to the gig, and the venue, which is a beautiful venue in Glasgow, which is usually lit up like a rainbow flag, they changed all their lights to green, which was beautiful to see, and we got some great pictures of that. There was plenty of crowds outside, and there was definitely a rustle on social media. And I remember Rachel turning over to me and being like, "Oh, Sharon's not going to be here." I think Rachel told me. I think that's how I first heard it, because she'd seen it on social media. Rachel, take us through this odd and quite historic moment for the band and for this tour. What went down?
I think I just remember looking down at my Instagram at the time and saying Sharon's not going to be there. So it was quite a surprise for me, wondering what was going to happen that night and how it was all going to play out.
Yeah, because the wording from the official socials was due to unforeseen circumstances, Sharon is unable to perform tonight, but the show will still go on with a full gig and a full performance. And we're like, well, what does that mean? Does that make any sense? There was definitely, my first feelings and thoughts were confusion. Obviously hoping everybody's okay and that everything's all right, but also confusion. How are they going to move forward on this? Yeah, what were other people thinking at the time?
I was thinking, like, surely they would have someone trained up in Sharon's parts just in case this happened. Like a musical will have their stand-ins, and opera will have their stand-in. Yeah, so just as an initial reactions was like, surely they'll have someone just in case of this. And when we get to talk about the concert, I'll talk more on that.
It's just going to add as well. So, the that Glasgow was my first gig, and
Yeah.
prior to the gig, I'd spent a couple of days in London, sort of acclimatizing for 30 plus hours one way. And I took the train up. So I really, sort of knew a little bit about it, but I, got there the afternoon and I didn't really look at social media. I was so focused on getting there and sort of building up to that experience. And then I remember walking and seeing, like you said, Simon, the green lights. I was like, wow, this is great. This is what I'm here for. And coming in sort of the first row, sort of talking to yourself and Francisco,
Mm.
that was the moment when I actually found out that Sharon wasn't going to be there. So I was there sort of in mixed feelings, going, what is there anything else? Is this a surprise? Is there something else going to happen? Is it going to be cancelled? But then I think I found out pretty quickly after checking social media that, yeah, it was still going to go ahead. I didn't quite know what to make of it, except like, yep, so happy it's still going to go ahead. But yeah, I know there's some talk about like, will someone else volunteer, that kind of thing. It wasn't even a question, seeing things. But yeah, all in all, I'll talk to the gig a little bit later. But yeah, Éadaoin, I think that's how you say her name. Did an absolutely fantastic job. Is it Éadaoin?
It is Éadaoin, yeah. Éadaoin Ní Mhaicín is her full name, and yeah, we'll talk more about about her amazing performance and experience. But yeah, I remember going just after meeting you, Darren, for the first time, and chatting through at the front and revealing the news of this strange occurrence and this difference for a Corrs gig without Sharon. Like, what's going to go? I remember going to the sound desk and in the center of the venue going, hi, like, tonight's a different one, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, this is going to be different, but they're up to the challenge. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? And I remember them setting up the gig, and all the roadies and hands just setting all the kit up and stuff, and then them placing a black electroacoustic violin in Sharon's place instead of Sharon's violin. And I'm like, what is that? Is that just a placeholder there? Is that going to be picked up and played by someone? What on earth is going on? Yeah, it was very confusing, but also exciting, because I knew that we were witnessing history for the band. I couldn't think of another time where the band, other than miming and other promotional skits, but at an actual live gig, to do a full gig without Sharon, I'd never known it before. I'd certainly never heard it before. So I knew what we were about to experience wasn't only going to be a great gig, but also was going to be a very different gig than I'd ever heard, even on a bootleg recording or a DVD, or witnessed as a live performance by the band before. And there was a trepidation, there was certainly worry, but I was excited to experience how on earth are they going to do that in our minds. And at the front, we were discussing from fan to fan, what does that mean? They can't do this song, and will they have to replace it with this song? And they're like, well, no, it says a full gig. Like, what?
Yeah, definitely huge mixed feelings there, really, until the first sort of song. I was actually listening to the Andy Murray, the second podcast, which was absolutely amazing. Like the energy from yourself as well, but like particularly from Andy, was like, yeah, and he's talking about Talking Corners. So that was my build up to the gig.
Wonderful.
It was amazing. And I think I resonated with the fact that you're waiting. You're saying before about Manchester, Simon, but I was waiting for that one. Certainly wasn't my first time. I was lucky enough to have seen them at White Light.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first experience, but also at the Aussie one night only, and then the Down Under tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so sort of building up to that was really quite interesting to see what manifested later. I don't think I was disappointed. I was more like curious, I think, to see what would happen. But I think the first moment where I was like, wow, this is really getting on, was the Give Me a Reason solo, where Éadaoin sort of was like really going along. It was so different, but also familiar, looking around, because I was actually looking at Jim and Andrea and seeing how they'd react. And you could see that they were like, yeah, go Éadaoin, that kind of thing, that kind of vibe. So it was definitely like a welcome to the family type of vibe, even if it was for that night. So it was nice to see how they welcomed her, and sort of it happened sort of effortlessly. It felt like they had been rehearsing a while, but yet it sort of came across pretty pretty organic and true professionals, I suppose, in the way they do things live. Yeah.
Incredibly generous stage presence. Like you said, when, you could see Jim like nodding and smiling, and he was giving the timing that obviously was being reinforced with her inner ears as well. But as Andrea said on stage, they'd only met Éadaoin at 4:00. Like, it's what they were able to produce, and to be able to produce a full Corrs sound or a Corrs type sound like that in that amount of time was just phenomenal. And it was lovely to be there. And there was definitely a couple of fans that I spoke to prior to the gig happening that were like, do you think we're going to get a refund? Are we going to get our money back? Sharon's my favorite, and do you think I'll get some of the ticket money back? And I'm like, no, their socials are saying you're going to have a full gig, a full performance. And it was lovely to be front row, seeing the obvious nervousness. You're trying to live up to a family band that's played their whole lives together, and you're the new addition to make sure that this happens for the crowd of thousands and thousands. But to be able to shout between tracks and clap along and go, yeah, we're behind you. You did that. You're coming across great. It was a real honor, and it was such a pleasure to hear and see how thrilled she was of being able to perform these iconic songs. It was wonderful.
So I was front row with Darren for that gig. I had actually bought my ticket that morning, I think, and I was originally in one of the nosebleed seats, one of the cheap seats, and then one of the Corrs fans that Darren had a contact with that was not able to make it, so I filled in his seat. So anyway, I'd only met Darren that night, the lovely Darren, who made me feel very welcome, and we were ended up front row center. And so for me, having played in a few bands over the years, it was really interesting to see how, Jim was mostly leading Éadaoin. Andrea occasionally would glance, and I actually thought Jim and Andrea would look a bit more stressed, but they looked more supportive, if anything. But I think from what I gather, like Éadaoin, comes from a traditional Irish music heritage, and obviously knew some of the traditional tunes already. But I think a lot of the other violin tunes, she was half improvising on the spot.
Yeah.
From what I could tell. And it was also really interesting to hear that, even though she's a very accomplished musician, obviously, she has a different style to Sharon. So her style maybe had a bit more of a swing to it rhythmically. And even though I feel like I know all the Corrs vocals and the Corrs tin whistle parts, I didn't realize I knew all the violin parts until I heard them played differently. So that was quite an experience. And I think that's one of the most memorable concerts, because it was such a different concert, and it was like, wow, you were like on the edge of your seat basically, because you're like, what's going to happen here? But I felt like the crowd were really supportive of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely reflect back that edge of the seat. I didn't feel, I guess I didn't feel nervous for her, but I felt joyful that she'd been given the opportunity, and also curious, sonically curious, like, how is this going to sound? And that's what kept me on the edge of my seat. I was like, well, this is going to be different. I'm going to hear this song in a way I've never heard it before. How is this going to go? So I was edge of my seat, listening, like taking it in. Oh, that's different. And like you said, Wendy, the Sharon bits of Sharon when the Sharon isn't there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it might have even been on Lough Erin Shore, that intro, which is a fairly simple melody, but Sharon plays it very smoothly, and so you could hear the difference with Éadaoin playing it. It just had a little bit more swing to the rhythm. It actually made me think about like country or Scottish folk music a bit more, and I don't know if that's an accurate observation of it, but yeah, even a piece that feels quite straightforward, it's like, oh no, Sharon has her own way of playing it.
Yeah, I think for me there was a lot of apprehension, like throughout as well, not just at the start. Like Wendy, you remember, it was lovely to have the experience with you. We were like, oh, when are we going to get to sit up front? And those seats were absolutely amazing. Like resonated with everyone else saying, once you're front row, you're spoiled. But like staring into Andrea, I was almost like shy. Every time she even looked in my direction, I would try and look away a little bit. So there's a little bit of that. But also, just speaking of Sharon, one thing I did notice was actually missing was her voice. We as fans probably underestimate the background and the sort of harmony she sings along. So in quite a few of the songs, I noticed that was distinctly missing, and obviously Éadaoin wasn't singing along. What I did notice was Jim absolutely stepping in, and you could hear the voice come out so clearly in so many songs, not just So Young, but all through. And even Caro was sort of going for it. I think they were all sort of amping up their own sort of instrumentation to bring it to life a bit more, including Andrea, like, places where she would normally play the tin whistle. I heard that so much more. So all in all, the apprehension with each song, oh, what's that going to sound like? What's that going to sound like? And also just hearing everyone sort of bring their own unique sort of flavor to it was chef's kiss in a unique way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a collaborative mix for those who are on stage and the sound crew. Like, they're having to balance all of that sound in real time on a whim to try and make the sound as full as it normally would be, but in an entirely different way. So hands down, they did an amazing job.
I think Darren answered my question partly. I wanted to know, in terms of the backing vocals, did Caroline cover Sharon's parts, or did she just do the parts that she normally does, or was Jim, doing the bulk of the backing vocals?
Yeah, I don't think it was Caro being overly prominent. I think it was probably everybody. But I think I noticed Jim singing a whole lot more. He was like literally, you could hear him belting it out, or at least, yeah, the sort of energy came through. Caro was definitely singing along as well. But all in all, you did have that missing piece. I noticed it more in the voice and the backing vocals and the violin. Yeah.
Francisco, tell us about your experience prior to this gig.
As we said, my favorite was definitely Newcastle, because we were all of there. But Glasgow has some magic. First of all, we received an invitation for meet and greet, and Rachel decided that I was going to there. So she said, "Yeah, you go. We only have one left spot." So we went, and I got in touch with Caroline and Jim. I let them know about the course cast. I let them know that we were 7 people going to the nine gigs, and that we would love to have a meet and greet, all of us, with them. It didn't happen, but it's perfect. And it was so great to be right there with Chris Hall, which we know, we love him so much.
Shout out and love to Chris and his amazing family.
100%. And he was there with his wife, his kid, and he was telling them that family was created because of the Corrs. I mean, they got to meet in a concert, and they love the Corrs, and basically they are together because the link is the Corrs.
So you got to meet Jim and Caroline again, and am I right in saying that you got some special items signed? Is that correct?
Yes, basically, Rachel took a really great. I mean, she's a professional photographer, so she got a really great, beautiful photograph. So basically, I got 2 of them, and I got signed by Jim and Caroline. Right now, I have one of them. The other one is in Australia with Rachel. And well, we have James and Caroline signed on those photographs, which Caroline, I got that on video. Caroline asked me, "Hey, this is a really good shot. Could take it." And I said, Rachel Lewis from Australia, and she said, "Oh, it's a really good one. It's a professional one." And I said, "Yeah, of course, it's a professional one." And I hope someday they notice that, and probably Rachel could be doing some photographs for them, like the professional ones, right there in the stage. That would be something really cool.
I remember sitting front row with you, Rachel and Francisco, and getting the news that there was the opportunity of a meet and greet, which I was like a bit kind of floored by. But also, me and Rachel looking at each other, looking at Francisco, and selflessly realizing that it was Francisco that should go and do this. It was such a weird moment to to just be like, oh no, that's Francisco. Francisco needs to go and do this and take the posters, and here, Francisco, have a pen. And us just watching him walk to where he needed to meet the others to be escorted backstage and just cheering him on. And just like, he could see us, we could see him from the distance, and like, just like waving our arms and clapping. And me and Rachel just like absolutely beside ourselves with joy, knowing that he'd done it. He'd gone into a meet and greet, and we'd made sure that that happened for him. It was just a weird but oddly selfless but joyous moment that no other community is going to have that. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful to experience and be a part of. It was really cool. So I'm glad you had a lovely time, Francisco. It's really cool.
Thanks so much for you and Rachel. Definitely a great moment.
After that gig, it was so great for me to be able to catch up with a couple of fans that I've been speaking with for a couple of decades but never met. So shout out to Lisa. Lisa, it was great to meet you in person, and it was wonderful to catch up face to face and share that love and passion we have for the band. So yeah, big shout out to you. And also, which then leads on to another subject after the gig. It was great to meet up with Helen Cruikshank, who I've spoken with for ages, and I know she's a listener and a lover of the podcast. So it was great to speak with her. And then in customary tradition, we all were led outside the venue with Francisco as the Pied Piper, with his little but not so little speaker on full volume playing. And Darren, tell us more. How did this go down? What set all this off? It was just an amazing moment of fans gathering outside the venue after the gig.
I didn't expect it at all. So that was one of the highlights, of course, of this experience versus the others, where, you had people who knew the Corrs, but not quite, sort of connecting with yourself, even sort of recognizing Rachel, saying, hey, Rachel, and follow your page. That was obviously part of the whole experience. And so many really big fans, I definitely didn't feel alone. So walking outside, hearing a little boombox and sort of following Pied Piper Francisco. And then it sort of just built up organically, sort of people having chats, a couple of people sort of walking outside. Then before you know it, there was this mosh pit almost of people sort of throwing their jackets down, dancing, sort of spinning around, somersaulting, but everyone sort of belting their, hearts out to Breathless and All the Love in the World, and a lot of the other tracks as well. It was just otherworldly. And it was sort of, when I first got to the UK, it was sort of significantly warmer, and Glasgow was sort of well below zero, I think, at the time. Didn't feel it because I was just sort of living off the energy of the afterglow of the gig. But yeah, it was so inclusive. People were just sort of having a fantastic party outside. People didn't want to leave. It felt like, at least me. And we were like, well, yeah, what's the next one? What are we going to do next? At some point, there was a conga line. And I was like, yeah, I've got to join the conga line. And it just went for a long, long time. And, it was just the best experience, I'd say. Yeah. Speechless.
I remember after that, Simon saying, this is all Francisco, like chuckling, all these, these are Scottish people. Scottish people have energy in them. And it was just I can say that I've got Scottish heritage, but, this like big group of people out the front, almost like having like a breakdance circle or something. Like really getting into it, singing, jumping around. It was madness. And then like hear Simon with his like dry wit, kind of like, this is all Francisco. look what he started.
Yeah, it was a moment of, what has he made? What have you done? What have you done? And it was just like, yeah, dozens. I don't know how many there was, but it was a really amazing, natural moment that's evolved for everybody, and just joy, just absolute joy.
Really doesn't matter at all. 'Cause we are so young now. We are so young, so young now. And when tomorrow comes, it's tomorrow comes again.
Greetings, fellow hardcore fans. I'm Ronald from the Philippines. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to connect with other fans and to show my support to the amazing band. Next year, we're planning to organize a meet and greet charity event to raise money for the Messiah Symphony Foundation. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you all in the Talk on Corners tour this 2025. God bless.
Hey Corrs cast, this is Ella Germain here, who did the photography and videography for the Corrs Talk on Corner UK tours. Just wanted to say I absolutely had the most amazing time on tour, and a lot of it was to do with the incredible fans. It was so cool meeting everybody and seeing their passion and commitment and loyalty and friendship to the cause and to each other. It was so cool, and I just loved hearing all the stories and how far everyone had traveled to get there to see their favorite band play. So it was such a special and rare thing, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for making the tour so much fun and exciting. Seeing you guys at every show was really, really cool. Looking forward to potentially more tours. Have a happy new year and an amazing Christmas. All right, see you.
The penultimate gig was Sheffield. This was a very special gig for a few, but any standout memories from this gig specifically other than after the gig, which we'll get to in a moment?
I had an 8-row ticket, but I was not going to stay on the 8th row, so I upgraded my ticket to the 3rd row, I think. And the crazy thing is that in Sheffield, also a couple that were behind you, Francisco and Rachel, left. So I moved into their seats quietly, and I remained there probably until the end of the concert, where everybody was already standing up, and I was next to Francisco and Rachel. Andrea, I think she blew 2 kisses to you that night, Francisco, during Runaway, I remember. But yeah, that was also for me, it was different because I had always been on Sharon's side. But that night, I was afraid that Sharon wouldn't make it. So I decided to get my upgrade ticket on Jim's side, right? And it was actually different because I felt like Andrea interacted more with that side of the audience. I don't know, that's just my perception. But I think it was also a very nice show. I was already sick by then. I was already tired. So I did a little bit of standing up and a little bit of sitting down. But it was a nice show as well. And yes, and what came after, I mean, just the cherry on top, right?
Yeah, it was a really, really cold night, and we were already in Sheffield, so we were already checked into our hotel. So we were all, this is easy, and our hotel for the evening was Sheffield. We weren't going to travel till the next day. I remember taking a few steps towards the doors because it's like you wanted to stay inside really, but like maybe the fun of the Francisco and the speaker could happen again tonight outside. So part of me was like, oh yeah, let's get outside. Let's see if we can chat with other fans. And I remember seeing far in the distance before Rachel or Wendy had exited the building, snow, flurries of real, not just little sleet, flurries of real snow coming down onto the floor, and that the outside was all white. And I remember seeing Wendy go forwards and Rachel walking forwards. Wendy, tell us what that was like.
So before we went into the gig, Simon had said to us, "Oh, it's probably going to snow tonight or in the morning." And I have seen snow once before in Switzerland on a mountain. So where I had caught a train up to the mountain, and it was already on the mountain, but I'd never seen snow falling from the sky. And as an Australian, usually when you see that is on Christmas movies from the US or England, and it looks so romantic and beautiful. So when Simon was saying, "Oh, it's probably going to snow," and part of me didn't quite believe him, because I thought, because it was one of those "oh, that would be too good to be true" things. And then we came out of the Sheffield gig, and then I heard someone say, "It's snowing." It might have been Rosa actually, and it's like, what? And then Rachel and I looked out the windows, and the snow was flying down at an angle, and it was so magical, and we were like. So I know you're not meant to run in snow so you can slip, but I sort of did the best little run I could out into the snow, and we were both out there swinging around and just the snow, feeling the snow in our face, and we were just kids with the biggest grins on our faces and like hugging, and there was probably Corrs music playing on Francisco's speaker, I'm sure. I bet my life on that. But that was just like such a wonderful surprise and like a lifelong dream come true. Yeah. All of you who live in the Northern Hemisphere already were like, so what? It's snow. And we were like,
witnessing your joy for the snow was really infectious. It was so cool to see. Yeah, I vividly have a memory of some Corrs song playing in the background because of Francisco again, and you, Rachel, and Wendy hugging each other, and just the smiles on your faces that you'd experienced snow for the first time, as well as it was literally just the snow icing on the cake of another Corrs gig on this tour. And it was just another special moment that you were able to share on this tour because, we just didn't expect it to be. We expected some snow on the forecast, but that was like proper snow. Teaching you how to throw snowballs and make them was just brilliant.
yeah, and just like feeling it on your face, like these soft little icy things fall on your face, and just like seeing it land on the trees, like to see. We sometimes have fake Christmas trees you can buy in Australia that have fake snow on them, or even in Edinburgh a couple of days before they had fake snow flying around the main part of the city where we were. I'm like, my face is hurting now from smiling because I still like that is such a special memory. Like, and Rachel and I just like knew how special it was for both of us. And just so seeing the snowfall on the trees, just like you see in the movies, and just seeing it on the cars, and it was the best. It was the best.
London. Who wants to kick us off regarding London?
Well, London, I would say it's like the place to see the Corrs, right? It's like the big city is like where they have performed twice at the Royal Albert Hall. They performed this wonderful video, the DVD that they have from London that I have watched hundreds of times. So it was really, really great to be there with mixed feelings because it's about to be the last gig. I mean, last gig and that's it, and nothing more. So we were like really, I would say, kind of a stress. I mean, after eight gigs, after you said 1,500 miles, right? 1,500.
I'd driven over 1,500 miles. Yeah,
1,500 miles. So that was a lot. After all of the magic, after having a lot of lunch boxes on your luggage, all the lanyards and the stuff. I want to say one really, really, really funny story about that gig, which we basically went to the venue. And Simon told us, hey, you're going to see the O2. You're going to see a lot of signs. You're going to see a lot of digital. I mean, it's going to be like blow-minded the way you're going to see it. So we were there with Emma, which we say hi from here. We were there with Simon. There was Christine. There was Rachel. And there's this specific moment that there was a sign and they were waiting, all of them with their phones, waiting to capture the Corrs. And I saw a big sign of the Corrs, like right in the top. I didn't tell them, and I was recording them waiting for this wonderful sign while there was a big one. So it was definitely fun. We got a really, really, really great meal. We went to the 50 Friends, I guess, or some restaurant inside the O2. We had really, really such great time there, and then the gig.
Yeah, it was lovely to meet up with a couple of friends that only had gone to just the London gig, and just to say hi. And the meal was great. There was so many of us that we'd collected from the tour, and we were all eating together. It was just, the calm before the brilliant storm that was the gig, and the highlight being the O2 venue. It's their biggest crowd for this tour. The O2 hosting 20,000 people, so the biggest by far. Lightning atmosphere beforehand. There's lots of areas to mill around for fans and those that are going to go to the gig prior to it. So yeah, loads of people wearing Corrs shirts everywhere you looked. I think overall there was definitely some apprehension because we all knew this was coming to an end. This was the last time we'd be seeing the Corrs perform live, this Irish and UK leg of the tour. And yeah, it was bittersweet to be with everybody, but the gig was wonderful. Just a tremendous atmosphere. Darren, what do you remember of this gig compared to the Glasgow gig?
Yeah, so I suppose this gig was really special because London's a very special city for me. I lived in London a couple of years, about 10 years ago, and had never seen the Corrs. It was probably during the hiatus time, so to speak, having families and so on. But yeah, I'd never seen them there, and I was like, if they ever perform there, I'm going to be back. So, them announcing that was really part of me sort of deciding I want to be back on this tour. So I suppose my first experience of coming in, walking in, was walking with a bunch of fans, and they were like, "Oh, you're here to see the Corrs?" "Oh, yeah." And I was like, "I'm such a big fan." And I asked them, are you big fans? And they were like, "Oh, yeah, we're big fans." And I was like, "Really?" And we started sort of singing some of the songs, and then they got to Queen of Hollywood and Good for Me. And I was like, "Oh, you're real fans. Okay, got it. You don't just listen to the radio singles." And then sort of walking into the big sign that said the Corrs. So that was really like, wow, they're here. So it felt like a bit of a build up. This is the summit, so to speak. And yeah, definitely had those feelings of like, what next, even before the show had started. So yeah, just going in and sort of, chatting to a few more fans who, sort of talked to online. And then, yeah, I think the standout moments were, of course, going, "Oh yeah, Sharon's here." Of course, I
Yeah.
missed the Sheffield gig that you guys had been to. So it was nice to have her back. It felt like another one of those like live in London type moments. And I also think that the dynamics with the rest of the group were really good. The crowd were awesome, of course. Quite different to Glasgow. Like Glasgow felt a bit more like, yeah, we're here sort of thing. But the O2 felt more like thunderous. I also felt that for a lot of the other songs, people were singing along like Summer Sunshine, and the little lines where Andrea sort of was silent for the lines the audience sang back. So I noticed that so much more for the O2 gig. And I suppose towards the end of it, it was again really tumultuous and in a nice way, sort of catching up with everyone, taking little photos, having a little after party afterwards with drinks and so on. And then I remember sort of, Goodbye is always like the song I kind of listen to, and I wasn't even listening to it, but I sort of had Goodbye sort of playing in my head, especially that sort of opening, very sort of happy, melancholic sort of line, and said, "I never thought someday you'd be gone." But it's always something to look forward to, and when next year comes, we'll do it all again.
Yeah, I think that really sums up the sentiment of those around me and myself at that time. It was lovely, but yeah, bittersweet that it was all coming to an end and that we'd experienced it all together. But yeah, when are we doing it again? When are we doing it again? Yeah, it was definitely the feeling of that. Yeah. Does anybody else have any final thoughts about the O2 gig?
Yes, I got a special moment. For some reason, and probably because I have been in a couple of Sharon's solo performances at Spain, at Glasgow, and Newcastle. We have a pretty close connection, I would say. She knows my name. She knows me by name. And there is a fun story that I usually do in different concerts, which I call her, like in a silent moment, I call her guapa. Guapa in Spanish means beautiful. So this time at the O2, I said, instead of guapa, I said it in plural. I said guapas, when Caroline was already right there, just to play in front of the stage. And then Caroline asked Sharon, "Hey, where's the guapo?" And then Sharon just point to me, "There he is." And it was so funny. Rachel got that on video, so to watch that is really 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 wonderful, and it's so funny. I remember once that it was in Adelaide where I called her again guapa, and she asked me, "Hey, guapo Francisco." So it's just like a moment. It's kind of fun, and it happens there at the O2 as the last gig.
Show off.
I think that really, you go to one gig, fine. You go to two gigs, maybe three. Starts to become a blur. But I think we've been able to aptly describe some of the differences between some of the gigs and at least convey what the fan experience and fan feel was like to be with others that are just as passionate about this band and this music as we all are, and no doubt countless that are listening. We should probably wrap it up there because we've been going on for many hours. We don't want too much fatigue from our listeners, but I'd love to lead out with a final question before we go to everybody's socials, just for those that may want to get in contact with you. And I'd love to know, in turn, just the same order as we used previously. And the question is, what does the music of the Corrs mean to you? So if we want to start with Ivo.
This is a tricky one. Well, the Corrs started in my life with Breathless. Actually, I met them watching Pavarotti and Friends because of the Spice Girls. And but I've been fan since Breathless, and since Breathless, I started learning instruments with my friends. We built a band inspired by the Corrs called Arctica. So, like the Corrs, 10 years playing with my band. So their music transformed my life into my music, my own music, because of the fans in São Paulo, Fanatic Corrs meeting. When I went for the first time in one Fanatic Corrs meeting, I came back saying goodbye to everyone, already crying. I didn't know these people, and I came back. I wrote a song called The Gathering, which is about us as fans, our passion, our passion for people, from other part of the world. So the Corrs has a huge impact in my life because of the music. So they made my band, they made me who I am,
Beautifully expressed, Ivo. And if those that are listening wanted to reach out to you on social media, what's the best way of doing that?
Instagram, Éadaoin Corr, or Fanatic Corrs.
Cool, thank you. Taliya, the same question to you. What does the music of the Corrs mean to you?
I see their music, the impact of their music in my life twofold. It's from a musical perspective and it's also from a life perspective. Musically, my entire understanding of how music works has been through my journey with them. My brain kind of broke when I first heard the Unplugged album, knowing that songs can be rearranged and changed up. As a 9-year-old, I didn't really understand those things. So they're really the foundation of my understanding of music, and also just how we express ourselves. Everyone does it. Every fan does it differently. Like Ivo says, Rachel takes great pictures. Some fans draw. Some of us play as well. It encourages us to express ourselves, and I think that's something that they've always focused on, is just leaning into your creativity and harnessing that power within yourself. And from a life perspective, their work ethic has influenced me throughout my life. The entire philosophy of hone your craft and it can never be taken away from you, and it is your ticket into actually being happy and enjoying life, enjoying those important moments in life, whether it's writing or playing music or being good at your job. Just hone your craft and keep focused, compete with yourself, in other words. I think for them, everyone who's not a deep fan would say they're so beautiful, aesthetically pleasing. But for them, it's like, okay, and then what? They're always looking to the next thing. Yes, we look great, but that's not all we are. There's more to us than that. So just looking beyond the surface and being good at something for yourself and finding fulfillment in that. That's what they mean to me. Yeah, they're very important, I think, to all of us. And I can't believe that we've achieved what we've achieved through this tour. I'm proud of all of us, and I'm also proud of the band for still rocking it on stage. At their age, lots of bands kind of fold it up and say, we've done our bit, we've been popular, let's hang up our instruments. But they seem to get so much fulfillment from being on stage and the energy from fans. And I think we mean as much to them as they do to us. And you can feel that with each and every show.
Beautifully said. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. Definitely. And if listeners wanted to get in touch with you via social media at any point, if questions are welcome, how was the best way of getting in contact with you?
My Instagram handle is Taidoo4, so TAIDOO4. They can get me there.
Darren, it's the same question to you. What does the music of the Corrs mean to you?
That is a very big question, almost like a deep question in my regard. The music of the Corrs, for me, is the soundtrack of my life in very many ways. They've been around for so many happy, sad, thrilling, pivotal moments of my life, and have been on my journeys of personal growth and discovery. So yeah, whether they know it or not, they've been part of that. And I suppose I connect with them very especially because all of my family play musical instruments. That's been part of my family, and so I really resonate with it and sort of really appreciate how they sort of keep that going. They're an absolutely spectacular live band. I mean, obviously preaching to the choir here, but in terms of the fans, but that's one thing that really sets them apart. They're so unique, they're so authentic, and that's where they're at their best. That's probably where music's at its best as well, being live. So hugely appreciate that. And each time I listen to them, it's always positive energy. It's sort of uplifting when I have a bad moment or a bad day. It's just that one song that sort of just randomly comes on, and I really, it sort of uplifts me. I truly resonate with what Taliya said about the hard work, the hard work and the ethic. That's something that will really get you ahead personally, professionally, in whatever way. So that's what it takes, and they've demonstrated that. And I really hope to keep enjoying their music for many years to come. So if you're listening, Corrs, which I hope you are, please keep it coming. And yeah, just keep up that energy. And thank you so much for all of the support and the personal growth that I've achieved over the years listening to your music.
And Darren, if people wanted to contact you via the socials, what's the best way of them doing that?
Yeah, so Instagram's great. Daz Mendonça, that's DAZMENDONSA. Rosa,
as we close out, the same question to you, please. What does the music of the Corrs mean to you?
For me, I'm not a musical person. I don't play any instruments. So it's just listening to their music and what they produce inside of me. They bring joy, and I feel love. I feel the love that they put into their songs, into their playing, the instruments. I feel it. And in this tour, I have been able to feel this love around me with all the fans. Meeting you guys has been an amazing experience. Like, I didn't know I needed you, right? So that is what they mean, the joy. And I remember after Dublin, I took a picture with Francisco, and I'm smiling on the picture, and I'm like, I don't smile, and I'm so happy. This is the joy that they bring inside of me. So for me, that's something worth keeping and worth having in forever, right? So that's it. Yes.
Rachel, the same question to you. What does the music of the Corrs mean to you?
So I guess I've been trying to think about what this all means to me over the last couple of years, I guess, trying to work out why this is such a big part of my life and why it's a big part of who I am, my joy that the music brings me. I've loved the Corrs since I was 10 years old. So it's, 29 years now for me, which is most of my life. So I guess over the time, it's just been something like the music's always just been there for me. And whenever, if I'm having a good day, bad day, whatever, it's just I always can put it on, and it just brings me back to myself. It sounds like a weird thing to say, but it just, I think it grounds me and makes me feel like myself again, if that makes any sense at all.
Makes sense to me.
And it's, yeah, there's so many different songs over the years that I can relate to different times in my life and special moments in my life that I think back to those moments. And it's not just a nostalgia thing. It's just I love the music, and I guess it's really shaped the music that I love and enjoy now as a person. But I guess in more recent times, I've been thinking that it's more nowadays. It's more about the connection. So in 2022, when we had the meet and greet in Sydney, it was not only meet the Corrs, but it was really my first introduction to meeting other fans. So listening to the music previously had only just been something that I would enjoy myself, like in my car on my own, or when I'm just being by myself, and just really enjoyed the music on my own. But when we had the meet and greet and I was able to meet other fans that shared my passion, it just opened up this other side of me that I was able to enjoy the experience with other people, which I think made it even more special to me. And then sort of it was, not only meet the Corrs, but meet these other fans and form these friendships that have become really important friendships in my life. So from meeting them in Sydney, then last year we had the whole Australian tour together, other people that came back, and we connected doing the tour and enjoying the music again. And then this recent UK and Ireland trip as well, it was just even more friendships expanded, and we did the road trip with the 5 of us driving together in a car for, all that, the whole tour. We were together 24/7. And who would have thought that could go so well when we all just got along so well? It was 5 of us from different opposite ends of the world, really, to bring us all together and to be able to share that time together and just get along so amazingly. It's really blown my mind, the friendships that we've made together, and it's exciting that we're already sort of thinking about the next trips that we can do together and speaking every day, and just the friendships that just have been so amazing. And that's been really special to me.
And if people want to reach out to you on social media, what's the best way of doing that?
Okay, so usually I use Instagram, and my username is Rachel Lewis Photography, Rachel Lewis, Lewis Photography, Photography.
Thank you very much, Rachel. That's perfect. Wendy, over to you. Just as final closing thoughts, the same question as to everybody else. What does the music of the Corrs mean to you?
It means romanticism, connection, and a little bit of whimsy. And I saw a lot of the connection at the London concert. I was sitting back centre, so I could see most of the arena, and just seeing about 20,000 people singing Runaway, that was pretty special and beautiful. And yeah, as a musician, they have influenced me a lot. I taught myself songwriting basically by listening to and analysing their songs, especially Only When I Sleep. So yeah, they've brought a lot of happiness to me, a lot of amazing new people into my life. And yeah, that's all I really need to say about that.
Very neat and succinct. Beautiful. And if people wanted to get in touch with you, Wendy?
They can find me on Instagram at Wendy Lang Music. That is WendyLang Music.
Francisco, the same question to you. What does the music of the Corrs mean to you?
Well, that's for me, it's really easy to answer that in one word. Love. That's it. One of the things that I like the Corrs so much is because almost all of the songs are about love, are positives, except one that I don't like at all. It's a good one, but I don't like it. I will complement my answer with some lyrics of the Corrs that says, "Thank you for all the beauty and all of the pain," because there is also some pain just going all around. Well, everything's borrowed, won't happen again. And all what's left is love, right? And this is the love that have us right now here speaking about the course for almost 5 hours on this course cast, like enjoying so much. We are creating chemicals inside of our bodies right now, just remembering, and definitely it's love what I get from the course. I would like to do more things on this talking. One of them is to thank a lot of people that make this possible. Definitely John Giddings, which is the representative. Thanks so much for all your job. To Éadaoin Ní Mhaicín, which I'm a huge fan, absolutely. To Kaylin Ford, we have already talked about her, that we definitely appreciate a lot. To Slush, we didn't talk about that, but there was a great moment for Slush that we put all the t-shirts and say Slush Fan Club, and he gave us some thing whistles and some stuff. We definitely appreciate a lot. And there was a camera guy, which also I really got in contact with him. So there's a lot of people around, and all of them spreading love. So thanks a lot to them. And the other thing that I really want to thank is that all of us, and especially you, Simon, and also Rachel, we got repost from the official account of the course. Specifically, Rachel was repost from Andrea directly. Andrea writing down, thanks to Rachel Lewis for his wonderful reels. So definitely, I mean, we were there. I mean, and we were involved, and we were creating, and we were sharing, and we were once again just spreading love, which is something really great. You want to have contact with me, which I really appreciate, and I love to talk about the course a lot. My Instagram, which is the easiest way, is FCOSALINAS, number 3, okay? FCO Salinas 3. So you will find me there, and basically my Instagram is just all about the course, and it will continue that way. So yeah, it will be a pleasure to just talk with anybody who wants about the course.
Thank you, Francisco. And Christine, what does the music of the Corrs mean to you?
So amazing just hearing what everyone was saying. So I've always thought about what it is. You know how you meet someone and there's a certain chemistry or connection. And that's how I felt about the course from the first day that I heard them sing on television. And from then on, I'd been looking for them on social medias before they had it. I was like, where did they go? Where are they? And I feel like I want to believe I was part of willing them back into coming back together into existence. But what their music means to me is it affects my every emotion. You know, when I've had heartbreaks, lost some people, when I'm happy, or music just moves me in so many ways. And I feel like, you know, a lot of the music I listen to are actually like 1930s and 40s. And then there's the chorus, you know, who's from my lifetime. But there's something about them that just, when they sing their lyrics, it's like, I can just relate to them, you know, and even knowing the background of their MTV Unplugged, you're just like, you just feel for them because you can relate, you know, with the things that we've all gone through as human beings. So what their music means to me is it's life in a way, you know, love, life. And I like that there's a theme too of connection. I mean, how are we still talking about them after all these hours right now? I love it. Like my cheeks kind of hurt from smiling, you know, like I can honestly say, I love you guys in like different ways and many levels and different, I do. And I miss you guys. So, and that's because of the chorus. That's mine.
Christine, if people wanted to reach out to you via social media, if you would be willing, what's the best way of them doing that?
My Instagram is best. It's Chef Cancio is my handle. That's ChefCancio.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Simon, what does their music mean to you? You didn't answer the question.
Okay. I thought I was going to get away with that. I thought I was going to get away with that. it's really multifaceted, and it's changed. It's what it's meant to me has changed in how it works for me. I would say initially it was nostalgia for wonderful times with my late father when I was very young. There was definitely a lot of nostalgia there, and the joy that music could bring in sharing music. It was definitely, everything was always underlined with that for me. But it started with that, and then it really developed into community and meeting others at gigs in the early 2000s and then mid 2000s and then late 2000s, people that genuinely loved music like I loved music. And it was more, their music meant more of a sense of community and belonging. And I still have that, definitely. And this call, which is over 5 hours long, is a testament to that. And the people I was able to connect with and the people I'm able to touch with my work on the podcast are a testament to that, which is beautiful. But it's, since doing the podcast, it's also developed into kind of aspirational. I think what they were able to achieve and where they came from and where they've gone to with their music, I hadn't really realized before. And the hard work and drive that they had for success is incredibly infectious. And their music also means that to me. It means hard work in a passionate and heartfelt way, which can only lead to the success of doing the work itself. So yeah, that's what their music means to me. It's kind of multifaceted for me at the moment. And no doubt it will change in another 10 years and hopefully grow deeper and fonder and richer in that experience. And talking with others about it certainly makes that happen and that to be the case. So yeah, many more years yet. Many more years of loving and celebrating the excellence and brilliance of this incredible band. Right. I think that's it. I think it's time to wrap it up. What else is there left to say other than thank you for listening? You've been listening to Corrscast, and keep on coring.
Bye, guys.
Good night, Wendy. Good night, Darren. Good night. Rachel.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good
Good morning now.
Morning. Night.
Wendy,
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.